6 at 3. And welcome to News 6 at 3 o'clock. Glad to have you with us live in the News 6 newsroom as we have a very busy day. We're going to be taking you to live shots all over Central Florida in just a little bit. My name's Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. Matt, you mentioned it. We have a lot of breaking news that's happening right now, and we want to get right to that.
That we do. And this first live shot we want to show you, this came in as a tip from one of you, actually. We're looking live. This is Noel Road, just north of Colonial Drive. It's in Pine Hills. So we got a call a couple hours ago about a number of police officers and the bomb squad at a home there. Our crew is on the scene, as you can see. They're telling us SWAT teams are trying to talk with a barricaded suspect inside the home. Obviously, we have to stay a little ways back here, but this neighborhood has been invaded with a huge amount of crews. We're behind the caution tape, but as soon as we learn some more information, we really don't know a lot right now, but we know this is a very active scene, and we're going to keep you updated as soon as we learn more.
And now to another tragic story out of Orange County. News 6's Mark Lehman broke the news overnight, a deadly stabbing that happened on Lee Road.
Yeah, we've now learned a mental health professional was killed in this. A patient she was treating has been injured, and the person accused in that stabbing is another patient who killed themselves in this. We're getting all sorts of updates on this crazy story this afternoon. We have your community correspondent, Tylisa Hampton, joining us now with more information on this story. Tylisa.
Well, Matt, you can still see there's a lot of caution tape up around this building right here where last night we saw that swarm of officers. We're going to get a closer look at that building right there. Now, we now know that Orange County Sheriff's Office this afternoon, they put out that update where they said that the woman involved in this, she's 44 years old. Her name is Rebecca White. She was a licensed mental health counselor. She died after being stabbed multiple times at her office right at this building when she was confronted by her former client. His name is Michael Smith. She told Michael to leave multiple times. Now, that second victim who was also stabbed, police have said that he is in his 30s. He's also in critical condition. However, he was stabbed after trying to call 911 after he got done with his therapy session. Now, the day after the stabbing, so that's today, authorities said that deputies found Smith's body in the morning on Windy Ridge Road, which is about 30 minutes away from this crime scene, believing he did die by suicide. We also talked to multiple neighbors around this building here. Now, the ones that we spoke to, they all kind of said similar things as far as the crime in this area. They said there is a lot of crime in this area. It makes them a lot cautious when it comes to people. However, they have never seen anything like it was last night. We now know that a helicopter was over. We now know also that parts of Lee Road were shut down. They were asking people, neighbors, that they were asking people to show their identification, even to get along, to get into their houses. And they never seen anything like that before. Reporting for News 6, I'm Tylisa Hampton. Back to you.
Just a brutal story there in Orange County.
In a busy area, too. That's just a few blocks west of I-4. There's a Home Depot around there. A lot of kids' activities in that area. And there was a massive presence there last night. Our Troy Campbell was out there talking with some neighbors, saying they had never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And now we are starting to get some of those details.
Still a lot to learn in that one, too. We're also trying to get some clarity this afternoon on a heavy police presence in the Paramore area. We're hearing there were unmarked cars, canines, even forensics units out there.
Yeah, we sent your Orange County community correspondent, Jana Manahilal, out there to check that out for us. Jana, are police telling you anything about what is actually happening there behind that crime scene tape?
As of right now, Orlando Police only tells us that they're working an active search warrant right now. So what we've seen, we've been out here for 6 hours, guys, at this point, and they have moved from the front of the house, inside the house, and they spent a bulk of their time actually behind that black fence in that wooded area, digging up the dirt, kind of putting it through a sifter, just moving that dirt around, picking out evidence and putting it in brown bags. Of course, it's unclear what evidence they're looking for since we don't have anything confirmed other than that warrant. Since we've been out here, after they moved from the black fence, they've come outside to this open lot area, and the FGCU, that's the Florida Gulf Coast unit, is out here as well assisting OPD. Just again, digging up that shrubbery, digging up that ground, moving it right now to sifters, just trying to clear out some of that area as well. As of right now, we don't have a ton of information that we're working with. Neighbors tell me that this is rare for this area. They haven't seen anything like this. We've been out here trying to talk to other neighbors. We had one UCF student who lives in the neighborhood who said he was too scared to come out for a 7 a.m. class earlier because the police presence was so heavy this morning. We found out about this, of course, from viewers who emailed our station letting us know that there was an active scene here. So again, we urge viewers to use that active tip line to let us know when things are happening. We'll work to get you more information and we'll bring it to you over here and on clickorlando.com. For now, live in Paramore, I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Jana Manahola, News 6.
All right, Jana, thank you. Another breaking story that's impacting a lot of people, giving a lot of investors heartburn is the stock market.
Yes, we are feeling it for sure. The Dow down 600 points right now. We want to bring our dollars and cents investigator here, Donovan
Is
Meyrie.
it still 600 points? Because I
Is it
checked
more?
moments ago and it was 850. Has it come back
Oh,
up?
gosh.
Yeah.
My script is not
Yeah.
updated. It says 600.
And we're going to look at those live numbers in a second. So, all right. It wasn't just the Dow that dropped this morning. You also had a drop on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, okay? All of this is due to investors reacting to uncertainty out of Washington. Here's a live look at where we are. 886, 887, okay? And before we get to what's going on, let's talk about specifically who these new tariffs basically go after. Right? I got a map here, okay, that shows all of the different folks that Trump has threatened with these tariffs. Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Finland. Penalties, a new 10% tariff on imports starting February 1st, and an increase to 25% on June 1st. Why?
Well, obviously, it all goes
Does
back
it
to
come
Greenland.
back to Greenland?
It comes back to
Yeah.
Greenland,
Yeah.
right. So basically what's going on is Trump wants Greenland, okay? He wants Greenland, and he's basically saying these 8 countries are basically in my way. Greenland
NATO
is
countries.
NATO countries. Some of our closest allies in Europe, and these are the people that he's threatening with new tariffs. Again, 10% by February 1st, 25% by June 1st, unless he gets, and I wrote this down, quote, a complete and total purchase of Greenland, unquote.
I also heard 200% on French wine.
200% on French wine because for some reason he's really pissed off at the French prime minister or the French president.
So, you know,
Specifically
this
at
is,
Macron.
this
Macron,
is
yeah.
reminiscent. Well, yeah, he even released, some text messages between himself and the French president overnight on his Truth Social account. But this is a little reminiscent to me of the so-called Liberation Day back in April, where we saw the stock market pull back dramatically,
Right.
only to rebound when he went back on some of these threats.
Right. And what's going on this week, okay, President Trump will be in Switzerland later this week at the World Economic Summit. You've got a lot of business leaders, politicians, economic experts. He'll be there. On Wednesday, he's delivering a speech. So we'll see what happens. Is he
Yeah.
going to pull back a little bit? But, that's tomorrow. We'll see how the markets close today. I don't think it's going to be a good day for the markets. I think, that...
There's no way it's going to come back.
yeah, that's
from
not coming
that.
back in the
Yeah.
next
Nearly
52,
900
yeah.
points down.
So here's,
Right.
a question. Do we really import a lot from those countries?
Oh yeah. Well, we import from those countries. They get stuff from us. It's little things.
And
It
then
might be
it's
one thing that you
retaliation,
specifically
yeah.
want, and it's like, oh, by the way, it only comes from Denmark or Norway or Finland or the UK or wait, I'm still going on. It's 8 different
Yeah.
countries. So yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, I would imagine their economies, it's not just the Dow today, I would imagine over in Europe,
Right.
they're struggling as well.
And going back to April, when the president changed course on some of the tariff threats, it was because of the bond market. And we are seeing a lot of activity in the bond market today.
Yeah, I mean, basically what it comes down to is when the president speaks, okay, everything basically reacts to him
Yeah.
because we don't know where it's going to end up. It could be something that's long and drawn out. It could be just an idle. No, I shouldn't say an idle threat. It could be like the opening part of negotiations.
Could be
we don't know.
posturing.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be posturing.
But if the
So-
United States is really in a hard spot to borrow money, that really forces us.
Yeah, we could literally spend an entire hour talking at all the different tentacles of this.
Thank you
okay?
for the update, Donovan
All
Meyrie. We appreciate
Don't
you.
check your 401k.
Don't check your 401k. Bye, guys.
For a while. Yeah. All right, Donovan, thank you. We're going to move on now, and because we've got a lot of other stuff that we're covering. New details into our newsroom today on the latest death at a Central Florida theme park. It seems like we've been covering quite a few of these lately. Attorney Ben Crump says the family of the 70-year-old woman who died after riding the Mummy roller coaster has now retained his office. Our News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has been covering this story for us. We told you last week the woman became unresponsive on the ride. Now, it happened just days before Thanksgiving. She was taken to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. Crump released a statement saying the woman's family wants to know exactly what happened. Crump also represented the family of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala, who died after riding the new Stardust Racers roller coaster at Epic Universe over the summer. His family has already settled with Universal.
All right. We have a lot more coming up for you right here on News 6 at 3 o'clock.
That's right. We are following another developing story from another part of the country.
Yeah, actually, we just talked about those markets and how they're fluctuating. We're going to talk about some situations that are impacting your health, how your finances and the stress from that can really hurt your health. I know a lot of people feeling that today. That plus we're revisiting a story that has a lot of people talking online. We'll be back right here on News 6 at 3 o'clock. Hate to show it to you, but let's take another look at the big board. We have cracked 900 points down on the Dow. Continues to take a hit as those tariff talks escalate between the U.S. and European countries over President Trump's push to gain control of Greenland. And just looking at those numbers, you feel it. You feel it in your heart,
I do.
In your soul, the stress that you get. It actually can take a toll on your health.
Yeah, that's according to new research from the Mayo Clinic. It says financial stress can be just as bad for your cardiovascular health as traditional things, I guess, like obesity or smoking. CNN correspondent Ivan Rodriguez joins us now. So, Ivan, How did researchers come to this conclusion?
Matt, Lisa, researchers analyzed data from over 280,000 adults who sought treatment at the Mayo Clinic between 2018 and 2023. These patients completed surveys about the social and economic factors in their lives, and they also underwent evaluations for their cardiovascular health. Now, instead of only looking at whether that person developed heart disease, researchers focused on something called cardiovascular age, which is how old a person's heart and blood vessels look compared to anyone else of that actual age. And what they found was that people who reported higher levels of financial stress had more advanced cardiovascular age. Also, financial stress tended to increase heart aging at a rate that was similar or greater than other risk factors, like some of them you mentioned, also high blood pressure and diabetes.
Ivan, does having financial stress immediately put that pressure on you? Does it right away give you poor health?
Well, it's a risk factor, right? But a doctor I spoke with tells me that just because someone has financial stress doesn't mean that they're doomed to poor health, because there are meaningful steps that people can take, like regular physical activity, a balanced diet, maintaining a healthy weight, just to name a few. Also, routine checkups matter because many cardiovascular risk factors develop silently. But also, a doctor I spoke with told me that now that we're looking at financial stress as a risk factor, it could also be a second risk factor for someone who also smokes, maybe someone who doesn't work out routinely or suffers with weight problems. So then that's something else to consider as well.
Wild that it could compare to smoking or obesity. Ivan Rodriguez, live for us. Great talking to you. Thank you.
Here's our advice today. Go out and take a walk instead of checking your 401k.
Don't
Get
watch
some
the
exercise,
markets today. Yeah.
All right, so normally at this time we check in with our social media guru DJ, who's letting us know what you are talking about on our social media pages.
But DJ happens to be off today, so we had to cruise social media to try to figure out what you were talking about. And one story is definitely getting everybody's attention. This will not come as much of a surprise to you if you watched the show yesterday. You remember this story? The police in Winter Haven telling us an umpire working a travel baseball tournament in Winter Haven on Saturday. He gave a warning to one of the coaches. The umpire's father was then approached by another guy whose son plays on the coach's team. He told the umpire's father he didn't like that warning call, shoves him, then he's accused of punching him in the face. Chaos breaks out here. The ump had to go to the hospital. The coach, parent, and son all charged with battery on a sports official during an event. That is a felony, by the way, serious charges. So, what are you guys saying? Hundreds of you commenting on this one. Tony says, poor example of leadership and parenting. No excuse and no reason for this action to have taken place in any sporting event where youth teams are playing. A permanent ban and charges should be filed. Those charges are definitely filed. Jacqueline brings up an issue a lot of communities are facing, and you wonder why you can't find any umps and refs. We were talking about this yesterday. Now you're in physical danger.
Right.
You're not
Many times
making
you're
much money.
volunteering or getting paid just a little bit.
Michael has a reminder for everybody. 99.9% of your kids are not going to make any money off the sport they play as a child. Just let them enjoy it. When you're yelling at your kid or the umpire, guess what your child is
I'm going to
focused
fact check
on.
that for him. It's 99.9999999%. Yeah.
Probably true. Great stuff
Yeah.
there, Michael. Thank you very much, and thank you for weighing in on our social media pages. We always want to know what you're thinking. It's a good way for us to check the pulse. All right, after the break, a major recall of something that just might be in your refrigerator.
Also, do you feel like your phone is listening to you? Well, it probably is. We're going to have that story for you coming up.
Hey there, I'm News 6 anchor Lauren Melendez. ChatGPT users could soon be seeing more ads and plus a major recall involving frozen chicken. So we want to dive right in with Maribel Aber in today's Money Matters. Maribel, some of that chicken was sold here in Florida.
Yes, Lauren, let's talk about it. More than 13,000 pounds of frozen chicken has been recalled over possible listeria contamination. Georgia-based Susanna's Kitchen says the affected ready-to-eat grilled chicken breasts were sold in several states, including Florida. Traces of the potentially life-threatening bacteria were found in a third-party lab sample earlier this month. That's according to the USDA. Now, no illnesses have been reported so far, and customers are urged to throw the product away. Recall details can be found, Lauren, on USDA's website.
Yeah, just check your freezers and whatever you need to make sure you're safe. Maribel, it seems AI is getting smarter. I may have a different word for this, but ChatGPT is targeting ads based on a user's conversation. Just when we thought we were going to get away with it, now they're adding ads.
Lauren, it's evolving with ads. ChatGPT users may now see ads popping up moments after mentioning a product or service. OpenAI just started testing them on free accounts, and they're tailored based on conversations with the chatbot. The newest paid tier will go for $8 a month and will also include ads. But higher levels like Plus, Pro, and Business are ad-free. The ads will only be shown in logged-in adult users and won't include regulated topics like physical and mental health and politics. OpenAI says it doesn't sell user data or conversations to advertisers, and ad personalization can be turned off. Rivals like Meta are making similar moves with their chatbots. Lauren, you know, the word of the decade should really be algorithm, because
Right.
everything we click, type, or say goes right into it.
Well, and that's why I love talking to you, because the more you dove in and nuanced that, the more I said, oh, okay, we've got a little customization here. Maribel, thank you. Remember to get the latest money and consumer news anytime. Just head on over to clickorlando.com.
So the AI is going to know exactly what you want and what you crave.
It already
and
does.
Then it's going to use it against you. Now it's going to use ads to target you. Good luck with that. We'll all be spending too much money. All right, still to come, there's a big vote in a local community. People say this could reshape their lives. We'll tell you what people are talking about coming up.
And do you ever turn to one of those online platforms when you're looking to hire a handyman? Well, how safe are those? We're going to have an investigation for you coming up.
Hey, we're starting off with some breaking news we have that we're following very closely here. This is thanks to a tip from a viewer. You're looking live at Noel Road, just north of Colonial Drive in Pine Hills. We got a call a couple hours ago. A bunch of police officers, even the bomb squad was at a home there. Our crew is on the scene. They're saying SWAT teams are trying to get a barricaded suspect out of the home. We have a crew there watching, assessing the scene. As soon as something changes, we'll bring it to you live.
Another big law enforcement presence happening right now. This one in Orlando's Paramore neighborhood. Multiple law enforcement agencies are digging through the backyard of a home right now. They are executing a search warrant at a house. This is on South Lee Avenue. Among the mix of mostly unmarked law enforcement cars is a vehicle marked Florida Gulf Coast University Human Identity and Trauma Analysis. And of course, we have a crew out there as well, continuing to monitor that scene. And we'll continue to update you throughout the afternoon here on News 6 and on clickorlando.com.
Welcome back. Glad to have you with us here on News 6 at 3 o'clock. One of the biggest stories from the last few days is federal agents who are ramping up activity here in Central Florida.
Yeah, your Orange County community correspondent Mike Valenti was the first to report on Friday that ICE is potentially looking at expanding operations in a detention facility in Central Florida. He continues that coverage right now. Mike?
Yeah, guys, we join you live from outside the Orange County Jail. The reason why we're here is because we want to remind you this is where immigrant detainees are currently housed under an existing agreement the county has with the federal government. We've seen that number of immigrant detainees here on the upswing ever since last year. We're going to get to those numbers in a second. But again, as you mentioned, we reported last Friday, ICE confirming they are looking at an existing warehouse on 8660 Transport Drive. That's about 11 miles or so from MCO Cargo Terminal. And they're looking at retrofitting that facility, the warehouse, and using it as an immigrant detention facility. We still don't know all the details. Nothing has been signed as far as we can tell. And the city spokesperson that I spoke to again today said they have nothing new to add outside of what they told me last Friday, is that the city has no information about this address. Now, you're looking at video right now, I believe, of a protest that we attended earlier today. It's off John Young Parkway in Kissimmee. Modest protest, about 24 protesters there objecting their point of view about ICE's presence and apparent ramped up enforcement in the community. There was one counter protester there, didn't really want to talk to us, but he kept repeating, let ICE do their job. So that is a question we pose to those protesters. Do they have objections to ICE just enforcing the law in general? They said no, but the images that they're seeing out of Minnesota give them a lot of pause and give them reason to believe, according to them, that they're expanding their powers and doing more than just enforcing the law. Guys?
Yeah, Mike, what about arrests here in Central Florida? I know you've been asking for specific numbers on that. Have you gotten any sort of update in terms of how many people have been arrested and how many people are being detained from Central Florida?
Yeah, Lisa, that's a good question. And I just spoke to a couple county spokespeople again today. We've been talking last couple of days. They told me they hope to have additional data for us soon. They did tell us on Friday there have been 831 bookings with immigration holds since the beginning of the year. We're only 20 days into the year right now. That was as of January 16th. We're hoping for additional data, maybe a more detailed breakdown. But to put in perspective, they say a significant number of that 831 bookings are rebookings, because again, there's only so long that ICE can hold detainees here. It's about a 72-hour period. But the implication being, according to a county commissioner I spoke to, that ICE is checking detainees out and then rebooking them. So we're trying to get a more thorough breakdown of that data to see how many of the 831 bookings are repeat people who've been booked and then booked again.
All right, Mike Valenti reporting for us in Orange County. Thank you.
All right, well, the state is starting to crack down on people who collect signatures for petitions. This is a very interesting story. Could have a big impact on those amendments you always see on your ballots popping up. So let's talk about it. Arrests have been made in this case. Attorney General James Uthmeier says the Office of Statewide Prosecution opened criminal investigations into 46 petition circulators. They were working to get signatures for specifically adult recreational use of marijuana, to try to get that on the ballot. The AG's office says 9 of those petition circulators have been arrested or had warrants issued, and at least 6 more are pending. The state expects more arrests in the coming weeks as several investigations near completion. And half of those 7,100 submitted petitions were verified as valid by state supervisors of elections. It's not clear where the circulators were working, but definitely something we'll be paying very close attention to, especially as we get closer and closer to the November election. But
Yeah, it's always interesting because it takes such a massive effort to even get the signatures that are needed to get it on the ballot. So it's always something that we follow every election cycle.
60% needed to make those laws happen once they're on the ballot, though. Big decision expected to come down tonight that could change an entire community. We've been talking about this issue for a while. It could have a big impact. And we could see this more and more as fewer kids are enrolled in public schools. Brevard County School Board scheduled to vote on whether or not to close Cape View Elementary. Your Cape View community correspondent, James Sparvero, has been covering this story very closely for months now. The district says there's just not enough kids in the city to warrant keeping it open. About 50% of the school is full right now. Parents and city leaders, though, they're pushing back, saying it's the only one in the city. Without the school, there will be fewer kids in the community. If it closes, roughly 300 kids are going to have to travel 7 miles away. They're going to have to go to another school just up the road. That vote is expected at a 5:30 meeting tonight. That's when it'll happen. We're going to have a crew there. We'll bring you coverage of that as it happens
It
this
is
evening.
such an interesting story, and it affects everyone all across Central Florida. You may think, oh, that's Brevard County, doesn't affect me, but already Orange County talking right now about closing 7 schools, and it's all due to declining enrollment, and really it just costs way too much money to operate a large school facility that is only half full.
Always comes down to dollars and
Yeah.
cents,
Yeah.
and it's not making sense for that elementary school right now.
All right, we want to take you now to Southwest Florida, where a woman is facing some animal cruelty charges. She is accused of actually setting a house on fire and injuring a dog there. Take a look at this video. Deputies in Lee County were called to a home because of a fire. Now, every person inside that house was able to make it out okay, except for the family's dog, which died from smoke inhalation. Now, someone in the family told investigators they got into an argument with Jasmine Saintil. They say after that argument, she was seen entering the home's front porch, where she stayed for a while before running off with a bottle and torch in her hands as the home began to fill with smoke. She was arrested and charged with arson and aggravated animal cruelty.
Tough story there. Well, for hundreds of thousands of Floridians, they own their homes, but they do not own the land their home sits on. This is an issue our investigator, Lewis Bolden, who sits just a little ways over there, has covered for years now. Lot rents.
So what happens when those lot rents just continue to go up and up and up? Do you have any recourse? Well, state lawmakers are considering new legislation right now that would force landlords to justify those rent increases and penalize them for cutting amenities without lowering the rent. Tiffany Salome with our sister station in Jacksonville spoke with several mobile home park owners who say this legislation is long overdue.
Florida mobile home park rent rules might be changing. There are a few bills working their way through the Florida legislature, one which would require landlords to justify rent hikes. And it's something people are very excited about.
I got the holes in my floors and
Yeah.
I can't get that fixed. And I need things done, like physically done to the trailer, but I can't do that now because I'm paying all this extra money to keep a roof over my head.
How much has your rent increased?
Well, when I first moved here, my rent was $325. Now it's up to close to $8 now.
$800. So that's like a $500 increase.
Yep.
This is an issue I've been covering for some time. People are complaining that it's just become unaffordable to live in a mobile home. We talked with a few people today who still share those same concerns. Is it too much money for you to pay?
Yeah, $100 more. In my Social Security, for now, because I don't lie. I don't like lie. It's $1,020.
Yeah.
And for everything, almost $900.
You only have like 100 or so.
Yeah.
If these bills pass, mobile home park landlords would no longer be able to raise lot rent without showing their work. They'd have to provide detailed documentation, things like invoices and cost breakdowns, to prove the increase is justified. And if a park cuts back on amenities without lowering rent, they could face penalties.
How do you think that would help you guys here?
I think it would help and everything, just kind of give us a heads up, like, this is the reason why, so we can do improvements.
How much has your rent increased in the last few years?
About $350. I mean, I don't know when the last time when all the, like, water pipes were done in the park or anything like that.
Do they give you a reason when they are increasing the rent?
They said to improve, I guess, the property.
Have you seen any improvements?
The only improvement I've seen that they got the pool up and running. Even though it's increasing, it's still cheaper than if I want to move.
You know, when you say something like rent control, it can become very controversial.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for those people, it's not like they can just easily get up and move. That is their house that is sitting on that property. And a lot of times what we're seeing is just these giant corporations that are coming in, buying these properties that had been kind of locally owned, family owned for decades, and they're just raising it up by a significant amount.
I spoke to a woman, she was paying $900 a month for lot rent, wasn't really getting any amenities for that. And if she wanted to move, there was a $10,000 fee to take her trailer and put it somewhere else.
Well, and that's just the fee, let alone the actual cost of doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Big issue. If you want to hear more about this, R. Lewis Bolden has covered it extensively. If this is something that impacts you, head to clickorlando.com. You can find his investigations right there.
Yeah, and just to let you know, the bills would allow judges to get more power to closely review rent hikes. They also offer new protections, doubling the grace period for late rent to 10 days and stopping park owners from forcing electronic payments.
All right, we have a lot more coming up for you, including driverless cars. You might be seeing more of these around Central Florida. We'll talk about that coming up after the break.
Your Tuesday evening traffic alert. The holiday is over and there's no rain really in sight, and the cold doesn't slow down construction. So watch out, lane closures overnight along the Florida Turnpike. You'll see those slowdowns. It's then out here along State Road 528, daytime and nighttime closures. Not full, but minor lane slowdowns. And then overnight, you'll see out by the attractions, 528 in the Turnpike, lane closure, and then out here, Pine Hills and Indian Hill Road. I'm Trooper Steve with your News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely. I'll catch you guys in the morning.
All right, let's take a live look at Daytona Beach. Really a gorgeous day out there. I'm always wondering, what are these folks doing out there on a Tuesday? You can see them out enjoying the beach. I guess that is the life, right? You move
They've
here.
made some right decisions.
You have done well with your
Yeah.
life if it's a Tuesday after Martin Luther King Jr. Day and you are out there on the beach. We are here working, but it is a beautiful day. It's very nice. We are seeing a warming trend, Julie Brown.
Oh my goodness, didn't it feel nice to go outside this
Very
afternoon?
nice, yeah.
And we're starting to feel a little bit more normal, not quite as warm as we should be this time of year, but we are on our way. And again, beautiful shot there of Daytona Beach. Notice the camera shaking a little bit. We're still talking about winds, pretty gusty at times, up to around 20, 25 miles per hour, especially along the coast. 58 right now in Daytona Beach. So I wanted to show you this. This gives us a good indication of our trend. This is our 24-hour temperature change. So on average, we're about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than we were yesterday at this time. And I know it certainly does feel it, although we started the day cold. Once again, we were in the 20s in some spots. But here's how we're doing right now. We are sitting right now 64 in Orlando, 64 in Ocala. Normal high this time of year, 72. So not quite there yet. Here's how we started. So I think this really does tell the story. Ocala again in the 20s this morning. You remember yesterday at this time when we were together, we were talking about those winter weather advisories. I'm happy that we don't have any of those in place. So you can let your plants be free. No need to cover those. 39 is how we started in Orlando. Here's what you need to know. Near normal temperatures tonight. Then by the end of the week, we'll be near 80 before we're tracking a strong cold front on Sunday that will bring us some cooler weather by Monday. I don't think we're going to be talking about spots in the 20s like we have seen quite a bit over the last week or so. But bottom line, we still have another taste of winter headed our way.
So it's not done with us just yet.
Not quite yet. So we will, of course, be watching that very closely. If you would like to track how the weather is doing where you are, you can always download our free News 6 weather app. All you have to do is search WKMG in your app store. While you're there, head to the pins section. Show me pictures of your pets. I like the pets and all the winter weather gear or whatever they're wearing today. Again, download it for free.
Driverless vehicles on the roadway. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Troy Campbell, and we are told by city officials that Waymo is testing right now in Orlando. Now, right now, if you log on their app, it still says Orlando service is coming soon. We spoke to Commissioner Shan Rose, who says those vehicles are on the roadway. We went out and it only took us a few moments to spot some ourselves.
It's important because there isn't a driver in the car, and so we want to make sure people aren't calling 911.
Orlando Commissioner Shan Rose says if you see one of these driverless vehicles on the roadway, don't be alarmed. She adds commercial service could begin as early as March.
It's a sign of the time when we were children and we looked at the Jetsons and we thought the Jetsons would never happen in our lifetime.
We went out to find a Waymo conducting its testing, and it only took us about 20 minutes to spot 3 of them driving along South John Young Parkway in Orlando.
I think people are scared, and I think that's just change. You know, the unknown. How will it impact our community, both good and bad?
In November, Waymo announced its plans to launch in Orlando after rolling out in Miami. In a statement, the company said because of its self-driving service, all of our riders experience consistent, high-quality service with the highest safety standards. The data demonstrates the Waymo driver is improving road safety in the cities we serve, including involvement in 11 times fewer serious injury collisions compared to human drivers.
Crazy. It's so weird. At first you're like, whoa, and it makes you have to double take a few times.
We spoke to people in Orlando who say they're hesitant to hop in.
I would not go in there, not at all. Or my kids, or let my kids. That's so scary. It's like a ghost. Casper the ghost is there driving. Yeah, what if it shuts down or technical difficulties, right?
And it's true. The driverless service hasn't gone flawlessly. Last month, this video was taken in San Francisco after a driverless Waymo stopped in traffic during what the city called a widespread power outage. A few weeks before that, this video was taken in Austin, Texas, showing what appears to be a selfless driving Waymo vehicle passing school buses, ignoring flashing red lights and stop signs, even as kids were crossing.
I mean, it's crazy, but it's cool.
Do you think you'll ever order a Waymo once it is fully operational?
Probably not.
And maybe let some time go by a little bit and see.
Yeah, see how it goes.
So we'll keep checking the app to see when service finally does come to Orlando. And in the meantime, Shan Rose says just be cautious and vigilant when you see them out on the roadway. In Orlando, I'm your community correspondent, Troy Campbell, News 6.
I think I trust a computer, though, more than a lot of people.
I see a lot of crazy drivers out there on I-4. I welcome computers into our
It does
drive
look
to
a
work.
little creepy, though, when you don't see anything sitting in that front seat.
Yeah.
Maybe they should completely tint the window or something.
Probably. I don't want
Yeah.
to be the first person to jump in the thing, but I'll maybe be the,
second.
50,000th
Yeah.
person.
All right. Well, it seems like the price of everything is going up these days, including healthcare costs.
Get this. Some people are getting a letter in the mail saying, hey, if you want to keep your primary care physician, you better start forking over some real cash. I'm talking in the thousands, too. We want to bring in our dollars and cents investigator, Donovan Myrie.
Hi again.
Hi.
This cannot be true. If you want to keep your doctor, you have to pay to, retain them?
But wait a second, you already do this. Member of Costco?
I am a member of
and
Costco.
see you later, we're done.
But that's $50 a year.
$50 a year.
And you're choosing, I guess, when you go to Costco, to go there and to buy whatever you want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the doctor, your insurance company is paying. You're already agreeing to pay.
forking over the cash.
Guess what? Or it kind of depends. Okay, so we're talking about a couple things. First of all, what basically has kind of spurred this, all right? I'm going to take you over here to a couple of graphics, okay? First graphic we're going to look at is here. And look at this graphic. According to AMN Healthcare, in 2025, the average appointment wait time was 31 days. Only 20 years ago, it was 21 days, okay?
Right.
This is one of the big things that's driving the cost to kind of go, or the drive to kind of go with private healthcare. You know, when you're trying to get an appointment, like for your kids, how long does it take to get your kids in to see a doctor?
Quite a while.
Go to a dermatologist, it's months.
Right, dermatologist, doctor. You know, in my report, we talked about some things where it's pretty easy, but some other things, I mean, we saw one wait that was almost like a year to get to see a person. So there are two types of kind of emerging healthcare options, okay? This is the first one. It's called concierge practices. And concierge sounds as kind of ritzy as concierge does sound, okay? $2,000 to $10,000 retainers, smaller patient panels, that's how many patients that the doctor might have, and longer visits, faster access. From there, we go to this other one, direct primary care, okay, where they cut out insurance because you pay that doctor directly. One of the biggest problems with physicians is that they spend so much time doing paperwork, okay? So they're like, forget the paperwork, we're gonna just bill you directly. Now, it sounds like, gosh, that's gonna be a lot of money. But people actually find this kind of balances out a little bit depending on how you then schedule your insurance, where you have a higher deductible, you're keeping more of that money and you're paying it directly to that doctor. And again, $50 to $150 monthly fee. Insurance you keep for specialties, but again, a higher deductible on things. You are skeptical.
Very skeptical.
You are skeptical.
I don't like
I'm
when
not,
people
because
keep...
if you actually break down how much you pay for insurance, it's a lot more than
You're
that.
still paying insurance.
Right.
You're not
Yeah,
getting
but
rid of
just not
insurance.
as much.
Just somebody else is reaching into
You
your
are
pocket.
allegedly getting a discount because you're only using it for emergencies.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is read the article, okay? The article that I posted on clickorlando.com is about 5 or 6 pages, okay? And it really goes into more detail than we can kind of go into here with kind of the back and forth and things. It's really, really interesting. And there's a lot of good links in there to kind of take you to other resources and things.
Good stuff. All right, he does write a good article. He's the web article man
Save
around
us
here.
some money,
Donovan Myrie, thank you.
I tried
very
that.
much.
See you
We
guys later.
appreciate it. Lisa, I know you have the 4 o'clock coming up.
Yeah, we have a lot of breaking news that we are covering, but first we're going to take a look back at last night's unforgettable national championship college football game. We'll be right back. We are staying on top of a developing situation in Paramore. Multiple law enforcement agencies are digging through the backyard of a home right now. Law enforcement is executing a search warrant at a house. This is happening on South Lee Avenue. Take a look at these live pictures. Now, among the mix of mostly unmarked law enforcement vehicles, our crew noticed a vehicle out there that's marked Florida Gulf Coast University Human Identity and Trauma Analysis. Your Orange County community correspondent Jana Manahalal is also on the scene right now. She will have another update for us coming up in just minutes.
This is what the completion of a Cinderella story looks like. I'm sports director Jamie Say at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, where the Indiana Hoosiers defeat the Miami Hurricanes 27-21 to win their first national championship in program history. The Hoosiers finishing out the season 16-0 despite a valiant comeback effort by the Canes.
We're 16-0. 16. National champions at Indiana University, which I know a lot of people thought was never possible.
Overwhelmed by emotion, and it's the pinnacle peak. It's like all season we've, sometimes I've had these cookie cutter responses and media trained response where it's been like, oh, on to the next game, on to the next play, and now we did it. We did it.
Not the result we wanted. Credit to Indiana. They're a great football team. But to these guys right here, I couldn't be more proud to be associated with them. I love them.
This one hurt, and it's supposed to hurt. Like you've been saying, if you work the damn as a competitor, it's going to hurt. But the people who going back, we know what it takes, and we just got to go back to work.
The Miami Hurricanes finish a season to be proud of at 13-3. As for the Hoosiers, they become college football's first 16-0 football team since the 1894 Yale Bulldogs. At Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, I'm Jamie Say, News 6.
All right, Jamie, thank you. We are getting ready for News 6 at 4. Coming up, your Brevard County community correspondent James Sparvero is taking a look as leaders take a final vote on potentially closing down a school in the community. News 6 at 4 starts right now.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live. You're watching News 6 at 4.
We start off News 6 at 4 following two breaking news stories. We know several law enforcement agencies are investigating a home in Orlando's Paramore neighborhood right now, while the SWAT team is surrounding another home in Orange County. And we start with the scene that we are seeing in Orange County right now. SWAT teams and Orange County Sheriff's deputies have been swarming all over a neighborhood in Pine Hills. It's happening on Noel Street. That's right off Colonial Drive near Kirkman Road. And just in the last half hour, this scene has begun to clear up a bit. News 6's Alex Cook has been out there for us, monitoring what's been happening for the last several hours. Alex, what are you learning?
Yes, so as you can see behind me, the scene here on Noel Road is clear. The SWAT teams just left about 20 minutes ago. But let's take a look at the video from before that when it was very active out here. You can see that OCSO SWAT team surrounded 932 North Noel Street and were speaking to someone on their loudspeaker, telling them to come out with their hands up. I never heard gunfire or saw commotion, but the SWAT teams finally loaded up into their trucks and took off after hours outside the home. I spoke to some people that work just down the road. They say deputies have been out here all day and that their presence only grew larger throughout the day.
We just came here early this morning around like 9 a.m., 9:15 or so, and they already had like this block and then this block blocked off and everything with the police. What's exactly going on? Should I close the business for today or whatever the case may be? And they just let me know like it's just like a domestic situation that's going on here.
Now, we did ask the Orange County Sheriff's Office for more information about what happened out here today, and I'll be out here on the street talking to neighbors, trying to figure out what was going on. We'll have more details for you coming up on News 6 at 5 and 6. In Pine Hills, Alex Cook, News 6.
Alex, thank you. We are also following an active scene at a home in Paramore. This is happening right off Lee Avenue. We have seen undercover units, canines, and even Florida Gulf Coast University has a team out there right now. Your Orange County community correspondent Jana Manahalal was first to arrive on scene and is live outside that house for us. Jana, what can you tell us?
Yeah, right now that FGCU team is actually called the Human Identity and Trauma Analysis team, but of course we have no confirmed response as to why they're out here with OPD. I've been out here since about 10 o'clock this morning, so nearly 7 hours now they've been working on this. We've seen more activity move from the front of the house to the back of the house, through the house. They were behind a black fence that was attached to the house, but now they've moved out to this open grass area. As you can see, teams are working to fill those Lowe's buckets full of dirt and then putting them straight into a sifter to go through everything and pulling out items. From what we can see, they're getting help from that Florida Gulf Coast University team, and we're just working to get more information. As of right now, we don't know what evidence the department is looking for. Orlando Police will only tell us that they're conducting a search warrant here at 722 South Lee Avenue in reference to an ongoing investigation. When we first arrived, they were moving inside the house with those undercover units that you just mentioned, and one UCF student who's a neighbor in this area said he was too afraid to come outside since the police was so heavy this morning.
I actually live right down the street. I don't know what's going on. This is actually super surprising. Yellow tape. I did not think I'd ever see yellow tape around this house.
So as of right now, OPD is not offering any additional information, and FGCU just got back to me and said they do have a role and they recognize their role in this investigation, but they have no other information. When we get more, we'll bring it to you here and on clickorlando.com. For now, live in Paramore, I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Jana Manahalal, News 6.
All right, Jana, thank you. We are following more breaking news. This one in DeLand. Police there say a man accused of choking a child is now in custody. This happened this morning around 8:15 on Clear Lake Drive and North Spring Garden Avenue. DeLand police say officers found the suspect, Christopher Schwabel, lying on the ground, bleeding from the back of his head. Officers say a witness saw the child being choked and responded by attacking Schwabel with a toolbox. Police say Schwabel is now out of the hospital and in the Volusia County Jail. He is facing charges of aggravated assault and aggravated child abuse. Also breaking news at 4, the federal government has subpoenaed 5 officials in Minnesota. The list includes Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. It's related to a planned criminal investigation of state and local officials and their possible obstruction of federal law enforcement. Walz and Fry have spoken out against ICE in their state, especially since an agent shot and killed a woman in her vehicle. Meantime, people here are posting about seeing federal immigration agents around Central Florida. Local Democratic elected leaders say they are seeing more ICE enforcement, which they claim is reflected in recent data out of the Orange County Jail. That's where we find your Orange County community correspondent, Mike Valenti. And Mike, we should be getting some new numbers from the jail soon.
Yeah, Lisa, good evening. In fact, actually, we just got within the last 10 minutes that new data that speak to the high volume of immigrant detainees inside the jail behind me. According to an Orange County spokesperson, as of 5:16 a.m. this morning, there were 203 inmates with an ICE hold with local charges inside the jail, 158 with an ICE hold and no local charges, and 19 inmates with both an ICE hold and other agency detainers with no local charges. Now, as of last Friday, according to the county, there were 831 bookings with immigration holds since the 1st of January. One county spokesperson told me Friday that to give us perspective, quote, there have been a significant number of rebookings, end quote. On January 9th, there were 71 inmates booked with immigration holds, with 7 of them also facing local charges. 1 week later, the 16th, that number was up to 377 inmates with immigration holds, 191 of them also facing underlying local charges.
I'm just disturbed by what's happening in our world.
In Central Florida, ICE's presence alone has sparked protests.
I think it's time to make a stand.
Here in Kissimmee Tuesday morning, you've got a modest protest off John Young Parkway, about 24 people voicing their criticism of ICE. And then just steps away, if you look over here, just one counter protester who keeps saying, let ICE do their job. I think he's echoing a sentiment you hear from people who disagree with you, who say that ICE is just enforcing the law. What do you say to that argument?
I think that if we would talk to some of our other law enforcement officers, we would see this is not how we enforce the law in America.
You can hear him say clearly, let ICE do their job. What do you think of that?
I think there is a role for immigration, just it needs to be not mass sweeps. As a veteran of 6 years, that I fought to kind of equal rights for everyone.
So that sole counter protester who you heard in the story was pretty adamant about not wanting to speak to us, although he was pretty vocal that the protesters should, in his words, quote, let ICE do their job. Now, there are other planned protests this week as critics in Central Florida hope to send a message. They're making it pretty clear that they don't want ICE agents in the community, and they definitely do not want ICE scoping out potential facilities to use as detention centers, as we reported last Friday that ICE is looking at the possibility of retrofitting an existing warehouse on Transport Drive into a detention center. For now, we're live outside the Orange County Jail. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6.
Mike, thank you. Taking a live look over downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope cam. After 2 cold days, warmer weather is finally on the way. Meteorologist Julie Broughton joins us now with what we can expect. Julie.
Lisa, we did see another cold start to the day, but if you've been outside in the last couple of hours, you know we are feeling a lot more pleasant right now than we were yesterday at this time. Here's another look for you at the Light Orlando Delivering Hope Together camera over downtown Orlando. A whole lot of blue sky, although we are seeing a little bit of cloud cover out there. We'll call it partly cloudy, 64 degrees right now. Now remember, the normal high this time of year is right around 72. In Ocala, you're checking at 63. It is 62 in the Villages, 64 right now in Mico, and it is 64 in Melbourne. On average, we're about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than we were yesterday at this time, giving us a good indication that we are going to continue to see that warming trend as we head through the next several days. In fact, by the end of the week, we're talking about the return of the 80s. We'll talk more about that and when we will see another cool down. Looks like winter not quite finished with us just yet, Lisa.
All right, Julie, thank you. Deputies say a former client stabbed a mental health counselor and a man who had just finished his therapy session. The mental health counselor died. This happened last night in Orange County on Lee Road near Addison Street. Your Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampton has been talking with people who live in the area. Tylisa, what are you learning about this?
Well, Lisa, you can still see that caution tape up along this building. This is the area where Orange County Sheriff's Office says that licensed mental health counselor and a man were stabbed in an attack. The neighbors that I spoke with around this area, they say they've never seen anything like it when they saw that police presence last night.
A scene I've never seen before. As a big crime scene, big crime scene.
Monday night, a swarm of patrol cars flooded Lee Road near Addison Street with caution tape around this building. Those living around the corner still shaken.
It's horrific.
Orange County Sheriff's Office says 44-year-old Rebecca White, a licensed mental health counselor, died after being stabbed multiple times at her office when she was confronted by her former client, Michael Smith. The second victim, a man in his 30s, is in critical condition. He told police he had just finished with his therapy session and was stabbed trying to call 911.
He was the one carrying the knife, so he had homicidal intentions anyway.
Hours after the stabbing the next morning, authorities say deputies found Smith's body about 30 minutes away from the scene on Windy Ridge Road, believing he died by suicide. For those living close by, it has them rethinking their safety.
Nothing but a tragic story in many, many different ways, from the mental illness of the patient to the one that was there that witnessed it.
And try to call 911.
Yeah. And it's horrific, really.
And again, we spoke to multiple neighbors who live around this neighborhood, and some who didn't even want to go on camera. They all kind of said the same thing, that they have seen crime in this area, just nothing to this magnitude. And they're hoping something like this obviously does not happen again. Now, Orange County Sheriff's Office, when they made that statement about this update, they did say that as of right now, that's all the information they have. However, we still don't know why this former client went back to his former mental health counselor. We're still working to find out all those details, but once we do, we'll make sure to update you on air and online. Reporting for News 6, I'm Tylisa Hampton. Back to you.
All right, Tylisa, thank you. Nature is supposed to be peaceful and relaxing, but at one popular spring, visitors say some people are blasting music and turning it into a party. What leaders are doing about it, that's next. Plus, broken sprinkler head? No problem. We're showing you how you can fix it in just 15 minutes. That's next.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
We're staying on top of breaking news out of Paramore. Multiple law enforcement agencies are at a home on South Lee Avenue. Police say they are executing a search warrant there. Among the mix of mostly unmarked law enforcement vehicles is one that's marked Florida Gulf Coast University Human Identity and Trauma Analysis. Your Orange County community correspondent Jana Manahalal says crews have been in the backyard. Several items have been removed and yellow and pink evidence flags have been placed around that area. When our team first arrived, crews were also working inside the home. Police have not said what exactly they are searching for. As soon as we learn more, we'll keep you updated. In just a matter of hours, the Brevard School Board could vote to make Cape Canaveral the county's largest city without an elementary school. Built in the early 60s, the school district says Cape View Elementary has lost about half of its students in just the last 10 years. Leaders are thinking about closing the school down, but neighbors are fighting to keep it open. Your Cape Canaveral community correspondent James Barbero continues his coverage, telling us what's at stake.
Months of worrying about the future of Cape Canaveral's only school all comes down to tonight's vote here at school board headquarters. As I've reported since September, this is finally the night board members will decide whether or not to close Cape View Elementary School, which is under-enrolled, and send the 200 students to Roosevelt Elementary School, 7 miles away in Cocoa Beach.
It's our only school. It's really important to us.
2 weeks ago, Cape Canaveral's mayor and city council made their plea to the board. They might get support tonight from John Thomas, who thinks maybe the new space race will bring young families back to the Cape.
My biggest concern is making sure that we keep enough capacity because we don't know what the space industry is going to do.
On the other hand, throughout this process, board member Katie Campbell has talked about demographics right now. The average age for someone living in Cape Canaveral is 59 years old.
The community is graying. It's the same people who've lived there forever. Their kids are grown and gone. They're still there, but there's no more children.
Over the last 4 months, Cape View's PTO president, Rajesh Ravi Sankar, has told me his community isn't giving up the fight.
We will definitely protest.
After more than 60 years here, Rajesh thinks the district owes it to the community to help find ways to improve attendance.
Why is it the teacher's job or the community to provide you with solutions?
Tonight's meeting starts at 5 o'clock. We'll have a crew here to keep you updated how the board votes and then get reaction from the community to how they vote. In Brevard County, I'm your Cape Canaveral community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Don't you hate when you turn your sprinklers on and find out you got a broken sprinkler head from the flood in your front yard? Well, I'm News 6 anchor Eric Von Anken, the handy newsman, and I'm going to show you how to change this out in 15 minutes. This is the step that's going to take the most time. It's also the most important, digging up all of the dirt and all of the grass around the sprinkler. Here's a shovel. Can you dig it? There's a few reasons why you want to dig a hole about a foot wide around the sprinkler. First of all, so you can work on it. Secondly, so you can make sure the pipe down below is not cracked. But this is key. Also, so when you pull off the old sprinkler and put on the new one, you don't get any dirt in the feeder line. And then, just screw off your old sprinkler head. It is really that easy. And if I were you, I'd take it with you to Ace to make sure that you get the right replacement, making sure it's the right height, but also the right pipe diameter. Once you picked up a new one, screw it in, and that's it. You are finished with installation. You'll probably have to adjust the angle and the distance of the spray, and every rotor head is just a little bit different, but don't worry, every one comes with its own instructions. And again, this repair is for a broken sprinkler head, not a broken pipe. We'll show you how to fix this in another segment. For now in Oviedo, Eric Von Anken getting results. News 6.
All right, we want to check in now with meteorologist Julie Broughton. We have some changes on the way.
Yes.
So if you're tired of this cold weather, we have some good news.
Yes, are you speaking from experience, Lisa?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
tired of waking up to the cold weather, having to get out the winter weather gear?
I'm ready to thaw.
Okay, well, you probably already started today. Now, you will be dropping in the 30s still in our northwest counties tonight, but not quite as chilly as we've seen the last several mornings where some of you were in the 20s. By midweek, we'll continue to see this warm up with the clouds increasing during the day tomorrow. And then as we head into the weekend, we will be nearing 80 degrees for our afternoon highs, but we're tracking a front that will cool us down into next week. Of course, a lot of changes to keep up with. If you would like to track along with us from your phone, you can always download our free News 6 weather app. Just search WKMG in your app store. This morning, you started the day at 27 in Ocala, 39 in Orlando, and you were at 43 in Melbourne. Here's what it looks like right now as we take a live look from our Daytona Beach sky cam sitting at 57 degrees. I've been watching some people out enjoying a nice walk on the beach on this Tuesday afternoon, a little on the breezy side. Winds are coming in out of the north at 16, but we are seeing some higher gusts up to close to 30 miles per hour at times. If you're in Ocala, you're at 63, 62 in the Villages right now, and you are sitting at 64. If you're in Titusville, and on average, we're about 5 to 8 degrees warmer right now than we were 24 hours ago. So that's a good indication of the trend that we are experiencing that will continue as we head through the next few days. Now, here's your hour-by-hour forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal. by Anderson.
Okay, this is Charlie, and Charlie is really sticking to his New Year's resolutions. He's in his duffel bag, preparing for his workout. As we head through the evening hours, we'll be at 62 degrees at 6 o'clock, and then we fall into the mid to upper 50s as we head through the evening hours, 57 degrees at 8 o'clock. Head to clickorlando.com/pins to share your pet photos with us. We love to see them. Here's a look at the setup at the surface from the southeastern United States. High pressure is our main weather maker, keeping us quiet. We did have a little weak front, kind of a reinforcing boundary slip through. And as we continue to head through the next couple of days on the clouds and rain forecast, notice Wednesday and Thursday, we'll see some clouds increasing. We're looking at a weak front heading our way on Thursday. This will not cool us down. It may have enough moisture to bring a few isolated showers, but I want you to look at Sunday. That's when we're watching an area of low pressure that will ride out of the Gulf, and this will actually be part of a bigger system that will be creating sleet and snow across much of the U.S. We're talking about sleet and wintry weather as far south as parts of Georgia down to the south of Atlanta and into the Carolinas. No snow for us, of course, but it will bring us a cool down by Monday and some isolated showers on Sunday. So for tonight, 49 for the overnight low in Orlando. You go to 39 in Ocala. You could see some patchy frost northwest of I-4. 7-day forecast showing we warm back into the low to mid 70s the next few days. 80s for the first part of the weekend before that cool down heads back to central Florida by the beginning of next week.
All right, Julie, thank you. Leaders are taking action against people being too loud at a popular spring. New rules visitors will have to follow or face a penalty.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando.
Visitors say what should be a peaceful escape at a popular spring has turned into a party zone, but soon that could be a thing of the past. This morning, Lake County leaders unanimously approved a new noise ordinance at Silver Glen Springs. It designates the area as a noise-sensitive zone, and it creates penalties for people who disobey that. People at the spring seem to agree with the new ordinance.
This isn't the place to party.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of party. We party with the manatees.
It's too crazy out here, and no one has any respect for the water, any of the wildlife.
County leaders say they plan to put up signage explaining the new rules. This ordinance is similar to the one approved for the Lake Dora sandbar, where people complained about loud music coming from boats. Now to a concerned parent weighing in on the recent fake school threats.
We are leaping into action to make sure that they come home with a graduation certificate and not a death certificate.
Addressing the root of the problem before it's too late, plus the harsh warning from law enforcement coming up.
How safe are the online platforms that connect you with professionals? A Central Florida couple lost thousands, and they're not the only ones. And an alert from the Better Business Bureau. I'm investigator Louis Bold, and our investigation coming up.
Welcome back. We are following several top stories right now. SWAT teams and Orange County Sheriff's deputies swarmed a neighborhood in Pine Hills that happened on Noel Street today. That's right off Colonial Drive near Kirkman Road. Just in the last hour, the scene has begun to clear up. News 6's Alex Cook has been there watching the scene for the past several hours, and we'll have another update coming up on News 6 at 5. Multiple law enforcement agencies responded to a home in Orlando's Paramore neighborhood today. Among the mix of what appears to be unmarked law enforcement vehicles is a car we saw that was marked Florida Gulf Coast University Human Identity and Trauma Analysis. We have our Gina Manahalal at that location. She'll have another update for us coming up as well. Police in DeLand say a man accused of choking a child is now in custody. This happened this morning on Clear Lake Drive and North Spring Garden Avenue. According to DeLand police, a witness says they saw the suspect, Christopher Schwabel, attack the child. They then hit Schwabel with a toolbox. Police say Schwabel is now out of the hospital and in the Volusia County Jail. He is facing charges of aggravated assault and aggravated child abuse. Back in October, we told you about a Lake County handyman, Chad Heasley, who ran off with an elderly couple's money and now has a warrant for his arrest. Well, a Winter Garden woman saw that report and contacted News 6, saying she and her husband had the same issue with the same handyman. They both found him on the same website, Angie, which used to be called Angie's List. And that raises the question, how safe are those online platforms that connect you with apparent professionals? News 6 investigator Lewis Bolden explains.
What did you want done?
This was all white, old, and moldy.
When Tracy Griffin and her husband needed new siding and a roof repair on their Winter Garden home, they turned to the website Angie for help.
Angie says that they stand behind their contractors and they vet their contractors.
Griffin was matched with a company called QC Painting Incorporated. They signed this contract with the owner, Chad Heasley, and gave two deposits, one for $2,000, another for $3,000, according to bank statements, but he never showed up.
We gave this man money, expecting him to show up to side our house, and he didn't. After $5,000.
Griffin says she and her husband filed a complaint with Angie that went nowhere.
We said, we want our money back, and they said, no. And then it was about a 6-month period where finally they're like, nope, go pursue other avenues.
But News 6 found during that time, according to reviews now posted on Angie, Heasley was allegedly doing the same thing to other people. One person says he took her for $11,000. Another says she made two deposits, $2,500 and almost $6,000, and never heard from him again.
So I think that Angie should pay us back the $5,000 because we went with this guy based on Angie's recommendation.
QC Painting is now listed as under review on Angie's site and not Angie approved. But News 6 uncovered, after the Griffins experience, Chad Heasley, seen here in surveillance video, started another company, Florida Priority Home Solutions, and advertised on Angie.
He told me Angie was his reference.
Back in October, we told you how Irene Simon lost $2,500 to Heasley under the new company name.
So he just took the money and ran.
He took the money and left.
News 6 did some digging and found the Better Business Bureau in Indiana has issued an alert about Angie.
Have you had any complaints where consumers paid a handyman and they ran off with their money?
Yes, we've had complaints related to consumers using Angie to find professionals that then take the money for the work and then do not do the work.
An Angie spokesperson sent News 6 a statement reading in part, "We're always disheartened when a homeowner has an issue with a pro. In each of these scenarios, the pro was removed from our network within a week of the complaint date and was no longer able to match with homeowners on our platform." We tried reaching out to Heasley but got no response. Lewis Bolden, News 6.
In Osceola County, the southbound lanes of Florida's Turnpike are now open after a tractor-trailer fire caused a shutdown this morning. It happened around 8, about 8 miles south of the Clay Whaley Road exit near St. Cloud. Video from our DOT cams show emergency crews on the scene with traffic backed up there. The Florida Highway Patrol says the cab portion caught fire and was pulled off the trailer. The Florida Highway Patrol says there are no reports of injuries and the fire remains under investigation. There have been 3 school threat hoaxes just within the past week and a half in Central Florida. Not only does it waste time and money, but experts say fake calls have a harmful long-term community impact. News 6 anchor Lauren Melendez breaks it all down with a warning from investigators.
3 threats in 5 days, but one major concern. They're all fake.
It takes me back to that very day, right? It's like pulling a scab off of a wound that is trying to heal.
In 2019, Rico Sharp's son was in high school at Lake Mary when he got an alert. It was locked down for shooting.
I just really went numb. I'm like, this can't be happening. Not here, not now.
A 17-year-old had taken her life. While Rico's son and the remaining students survived, he still can't shake the familiar pit in his stomach when he sees headlines like these.
To experience the terror and the fear that ran through my body.
Look at this, January 8th, 9th, and 12th. What do all these days have in common? Parents left scrambling, trying to get to their kids in lockdown because of what they thought was a looming threat.
They think it's funny. It's not funny at all. You have to treat each one as if it's a real call.
At Lake Brantley High, a tip about a potential threat forced to code red. A day later, and also in Seminole County, this eerie video of a masked figure threatening area schools, prompting immediate lockdowns. Then in 72 hours, Lake Mineola got a bomb threat.
Know what your kids are doing on the internet.
Flagler County not impacted this time, but the sheriff is no stranger to threats and says a single swatting call can cost upwards of $10,000 between the overwhelming police response and the subsequent investigation.
Knock it off.
But data points beyond the dollars, proving that fake school threats can have harmful, long-term ripple effects, like eroding public trust while traumatizing communities, prompting harsh warnings.
Where there is smoke, there will potentially be fire.
You're going to get handcuffs on, you're going to get fingerprinted, your mug shot's going to be taken. You're held accountable.
Lauren Melendez, News 6.
Lauren tells us the father you just heard from has since created a curriculum to help educators and families facilitate important conversations around school threats and violence. Those details are at clickorlando.com. Another Central Florida city is taking a closer look at e-bikes. A new proposal in Deltona could impact students who ride the electric bikes to school. It includes a ban on e-bikes for anyone under 16 years old. The ordinance would also cap speeds at 15 miles per hour, and it prohibits riding on sidewalks if a bike lane is available. High-powered e-bikes, those over 750 watts, would be banned from sidewalks entirely. Riders would also have to stop for school buses, just like drivers. Tonight's meeting starts at 6. E-bikes have been a hot topic in Central Florida lately. Last week, Sumter County school leaders approved new rules banning students from using the powered portion of their e-bikes or scooters on campus. In Seminole County, police in Oviedo say they've been getting complaints about students driving recklessly. Police cited 9 students at Jackson Heights Middle School earlier this month during a special enforcement effort. All citations come with a $116 fine. We've also seen restrictions go into effect in Winter Garden, Flagler County, and Palm Coast. Stocks plunged on Wall Street today after President Trump threatened to hit 8 NATO members with new tariffs. Tensions are escalating over his attempts to take over Greenland. News 6 investigator Donovan Myrie joins us now in the newsroom with what's going on. Donovan.
Well, Lisa, the Dow Jones took a sharp dive this morning, dropping more than 600 points in early trading as investors reacted to fresh uncertainty out of Washington. The early sell-off follows renewed concerns about global trade after President Trump threatened new tariffs aimed at European allies. All of this tied back to his laser focus of making Greenland part of the United States. Specifically, the president targeted 8 countries with new tariffs: Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Finland. The penalties: a 10% tariff on imports starting February 1st and an increase to 25% on June 1st if the president doesn't get, quote, complete and total purchase of Greenland, unquote. Now, Trump's comments over the past 3 days rattled markets already on edge, with investors worried about the potential for a broader trade fight and its impact on corporate profits. And the sell-off wasn't limited to just the Dow. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also fell after their opening bells, signaling widespread anxiety across Wall Street. Now, how did everyone fare? Here's a live look at stocks after the closing bell. The Dow ended down more than 800 points. The S&P dropped more than 2%. The NASDAQ also ended down more than 2%. Now, President Trump will be in Davos, Switzerland this week, attending the World Economic Forum, a gathering of top politicians, business leaders, and economic experts. He is also scheduled to deliver a major address on Wednesday. Lisa Bell, back to you.
All right, Donovan, always a lot happening. Thank you. After months of public pushback, a big funding fight returns tonight. The debate to bring money back to the arts and what it could mean for your local theater. That's next.
That's so scary. It's like a ghost. Casper the ghost is there driving.
The driverless taxi service that's one step closer to offering rides in Central Florida. That's next.
If you like warm weather, you'll enjoy the trend we have over the next several days. Our average overnight low is 49. That's where we'll be tonight before going into the 60s for our low Saturday morning. We'll talk more about when we'll see highs in the 80s in our next cool down coming up.
And before we head to break, we want to remind you to check out our primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. You can go in depth as we answer your weather questions at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. And you can download our streaming app for free. Just search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
Volusia County art groups are holding their breath tonight, hoping a councilman's request to restore their grant funding finally gets heard. Last fall, the county council slashed $600,000 that supported more than 30 local organizations. Your Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed is digging into what this means for those groups.
The idea to reinstate the funding came up at a recent county council workshop, and now I'm told a councilman is expected to bring it back up here tonight for an official discussion. Now, since the cuts back in the fall, art groups have been showing up at every single one of the council meetings here, fighting to get the money back, saying they're having to make massive program cuts because of it.
It is important to be able to have where you live and the community invest in the things that actually bring enjoyment to people.
Alexa Baldwin with the Athens Theater in DeLand says without the grant, they have to raise their ticket prices and cut back on shows. She says the grant money went towards musicians, youth scholarships, and special performances.
Part of what that money was going for was so that we could offer accessible performances for our local deaf communities and for the local blind communities.
In October, the council voted to cut the $611,000 in operating grants for 33 cultural groups. Part of the original discussion for the cuts centered around local theaters being used by the Volusia Pride Group for LGBTQ events. It was the second curveball thrown at the organizations last year. The county first changed its requirements for the grant application earlier in 2025, then cut the grant after applications went in.
I just think that we can do as promised, that we can hold true to what we had committed to do before earlier in the year. And then next year, we'll look at it.
While Volusia County Council Vice Chair Matt Reinhart is for reinstating it, Council Chair Jeff Brower says he's not bending.
And not that arts aren't important, they are, but is it a core responsibility of government to pay for the arts? And in my opinion, it's not.
We'll, of course, bring you any updates on that discussion from the council meeting on clickorlando.com. I'm your Volusia County Community Correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
All right, we want to check back in with meteorologist Julie Broughton, who is tracking some changes for us.
Yes.
I think a lot of people will like these changes.
Yeah, you know, we're just not used to the cold and waking up in the 20s. It's a little rough for us, but we do have some nice changes on the way if you like warm weather. Now, tonight, our overnight lows will be back in the normal range for most of us. Now, up in areas like Ocala and the Villages, you'll still dip into the upper 30s and low 40s, but we are already seeing a warming trend. 80s will be back in the picture by the end of the week and into the weekend, but our next strong front arrives on Sunday. That will bring with it the chance of some rain, and it will also cool us down a little bit as we head into next week. I don't think we're talking about temperatures as cold as we've seen lately, though, but still another little wintry blast. Here's what it looks like for you right now here at 4:47 on this Tuesday. This is our Light Orlando delivering Hope Together camera over downtown Orlando. Nice amount of sunshine out there. We're sitting at 64 degrees. Our winds are coming in out of the north-northeast at 13 miles per hour, and especially along the coast, we are seeing some higher gusts up to around 30 miles per hour. Here's how that looks if you're in Mico or Melbourne. You're seeing 28 mile per hour gusts right now. Winds relax a little bit the farther inland you go, but still we're talking about winds gusting up to around 18 to 20 miles per hour in areas like Kissimmee and in Claremont. Now, right now we're sitting at 62 if you're in Mount Dora, 63 in Mascot, checking in at 61 in Denellen. Altoona, you are at 60 degrees right now, 65 in Mico, and 65 right now in Deer Park. Now, here's your hour-by-hour forecast. So you can go ahead and plan your evening. This is Brandy. She lives in Belle Isle, so she was trying to stay nice and warm this morning. I think she's so beautiful, and the green and white blanket looks nice with her. 62 degrees at 6 o'clock. We'll go to 59 degrees by 7 o'clock, and still in the upper 50s by 8 o'clock. Head to clickorlando.com/pins to share your pet photos with us. Satellite and radar imagery showing things pretty uneventful for us as far as any sort of cloud cover or rain. A little bit of cloud cover kind of floating over from the Gulf, but with high pressure in control, that typically means sinking air and quiet weather. Water vapor imagery showing some of that very dry air we had in place behind our strong cold front. That's beginning to erode a little bit, so we will see a bit more cloud cover tomorrow and especially into the weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and take you into Friday. We'll start to see a warm front lifting through our area. As that happens, our winds shift out of the southwest. That kicks us into the low 80s, upper 70s, and we'll see a few isolated showers possible on Friday and certainly into the weekend before that stronger front moves through, cooling us down again into next week. So for tonight, your lows in Orlando go to 49. If you're in the Villages, 41. And Ocala, you wake up tomorrow morning at 39. 7-day forecast showing that warming trend into the weekend. 74 tomorrow, up to 80 by Friday. Isolated showers Thursday and Friday. A little bit better chance of rain as that front comes through on Sunday, bringing us cooler temperatures to start next week.
All right, Julie, thank you. Now to a question for our traffic safety expert. Someone wanted to know the difference between a moving and non-moving traffic citation. Trooper Steve has the answer coming up. Plus, the self-driving rideshare service doing tests in Central Florida and what riders can expect. That's next.
Coming up in the morning, keeping kids safe online.
Yeah, we talked to detectives on where predators are hiding, and you guys are not going to believe the length they go to try to get in touch with your kids.
And guess what? Weather warmer is making a comeback. Candace will have your forecast every 10 minutes.
Join us for News 6 mornings starting at 6. Ooh, someone got a ticket. What is the difference between a moving and non-moving traffic ticket? All right, here in Florida, a moving violation happens when your vehicle is actually moving and your driving affects other people's safety. Think speeding, running a red light, or maybe failing to yield, things like that. These can add points to your license, and yes, your insurance company is going to notice. A non-moving violation is more about paperwork, administrative, things like equipment, expired tags, broken taillight, maybe even a parking ticket. No points and usually no insurance hit. Here's the easy way to remember. If your wheels are rolling, it's probably a moving violation. If it's paperwork is the problem, it's a non-moving. Either way, tickets aren't fun, but knowing the difference can actually save you some money and the headache down the road. You got a traffic safety question, you want me to answer it? Head to clickorlando.com/ask-Trooper-Steve.
Driverless taxis are coming to Orlando, and you may have already spotted some on the roads in recent weeks. We are now learning the company is getting close to beginning commercial services. We went to find a Waymo doing a test, and it only took about 20 minutes to spot 3 of them driving along South John Young Parkway in Orlando. Some say, though, they are a little hesitant to hop in.
I would not go in there, not at all, or my kids, or let my kids. That's so scary. It's like a ghost. Casper the ghost is there driving. Yeah, like what if it like shuts down or technical difficulties, right? Like.
Last month, a self-driving Waymo stopped traffic in San Francisco during a widespread power outage. A few weeks before that, video in Austin, Texas showed what appeared to be a self-driving Waymo passing school buses, ignoring flashing red lights and stop signs, even as kids were crossing the street. The service in Orlando could begin as early as March. News 6 at 5 is up next. Anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom with what's ahead.
Well, it's been a crazy scene in a Paramore neighborhood all day long, and we're working to try to get you some answers on what exactly happened. Coming up, we're taking you live out to the scene of where this all happened in just a little bit. And 1 person dead, another injured in a stabbing in Orange County. What we're learning about how that suspect actually knew one of the victims. And your forecast is just minutes away. Don't forget, you can stream all of our newscasts and live cameras like this look at Daytona Beach for free anytime on News 6 Plus.
Now at 5, SWAT teams at an Orange County home. We're bringing you breaking updates from the scene. Plus,
I don't know what's going on.
Investigators swarming a home, leaving neighbors scared to come outside. The answers we're pressing officials for. And one person killed, another hurt after a stabbing at a mental health counselor's practice. The suspect knew the person who was killed. You're watching News 6 at 5.
We're following some breaking news at 5. Police in DeLand say a man accused of choking a child waiting at their bus stop is in custody after a Good Samaritan stepped in to help save that teen. DeLand police tell us officers were called to Clear Lake Drive and North Spring Garden Avenue around 8:15 this morning. That's where officers found the suspect, Christopher Schwabel, lying on the ground, bleeding from the back of his head. Officials say a witness saw the child being choked and responded by hitting Schwabel with a toolbox. Police say this guy Schwabel is now out of the hospital in the Volusia County Jail. He's facing charges of aggravated assault and aggravated child abuse. We have a crew on the way to the area tonight to dig more into this story. Look for more updates throughout the evening and on air at clickorlando.com. We're following some more breaking news. This in Orange County tonight. A crime scene investigation at a house in Paramore wrapping up within the past hour. We've had a crew outside the home along South Lee Avenue since 10 this morning. It's near I-4 and the 408. Your Orange County community correspondent Jana Manohalal is there. Jana, what's the latest on this?
Yeah, Matt, that scene definitely cleared up by now. As you can see, the house is back to what it was originally this morning. Earlier this morning, we had an FGCU team out here. That team is known as the Human Identity and Trauma Analysis Team, but we have no confirmed response as to why they were out here with OPD. The teams left, again, not too long ago, and there was definitely more activity in the back of the house than in the front. Now, OPD officers and that FGCU team were working together, digging up the ground, putting dirt into sifters, sifting that through, and then just pulling out evidence and putting those evidence pieces into brown bags. As of right now, we do not know what evidence the department was looking for. Orlando police will only tell us they are conducting a search warrant here at 722 South Lee Avenue in reference to an ongoing investigation. Now, when we first arrived at about 10 o'clock this morning, like you said, they were inside the house taking pictures and also around the house. During the day, the teams were putting multiple flags out, yellow and pink evidence markers, to figure out where they wanted to dig and what they wanted to dig up. There were even canine units out here sniffing the ground. Neighbors have actually been out here all day talking to us, and one neighbor is a UCF student who lives right down the road. He said he was too scared to come out of his house at 7 o'clock this morning because the police presence was so strong.
I actually live right down the street. I don't know what's going on. This is actually super surprising. Yellow tape. I did not think I'd ever see yellow tape around this house.
Again, OPD and FGCU not offering any additional information, but we're pressing to get more, and when we do, we'll bring it to you here and on clickorlando.com. For now in Paramore, I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Jana Manohalal, News 6.
Jana, thank you. Developing now, the Orange County Sheriff's Office says a licensed mental health counselor and a client were stabbed in her office by a former patient. The stabbing investigation shut down a part of Lee Road last night in Orlando. Your Orange County community correspondent, Tylisa Hampton, has been talking to people who live in that area. Tylisa, what are they saying?
Well, Matt, you can still see the caution tape up around parts of this building right here. This is where the Orange County Sheriff's Office says that it was just a swarm of police because of that stabbing of that licensed mental health counselor and another person who they say were attacked. I spoke with people who live in this area. They say they've never seen anything like this before.
A scene I've never seen before. As a big crime scene, big crime scene.
Monday night, a swarm of patrol cars flooded Lee Road near Addison Street with caution tape around this building. Those living around the corner still shaken.
It's horrific.
Orange County Sheriff's Office says 44-year-old Rebecca White, a licensed mental health counselor, died after being stabbed multiple times at her office when she was confronted by her former client, Michael Smith. The second victim, a man in his 30s, is in critical condition. He told police he had just finished with his therapy session and was stabbed trying to call 911.
He was the one carrying the knife, so he had
homicidal intentions anyway.
Hours after the stabbing the next morning, authorities say deputies found Smith's body about 30 minutes away from the scene on Windy Ridge Road, believing he died by suicide. For those living close by, it has them rethinking their safety.
Nothing but a tragic story in many, many different ways, from the mental illness of the patient to the one that was there that witnessed it.
And try to call 911.
Yeah. And it's horrific, really.
And we're still trying to find out more details in this investigation, like why that former client showed up to his former therapist's office. Now, as we work to find out more details, we'll make sure to keep you updated. And just a few minutes ago, Matt, we did speak to a client of Rebecca's who came by because he said he could not imagine this being real. And we'll make sure that we share his story later on at 6. Reporting for News 6, I'm Talisa Hampton. Back to you.
Just an awful story, Talisa. Thank you. Let's turn to your weather forecast as we bring in meteorologist Jonathan Kegis. That cold weather looks to maybe be moving out, giving us somewhat of a break, Jonathan.
It feels good in the sunshine, at least when you're standing outside. We're back to the 60s across a lot of Central Florida, especially interior Central Florida. Mid-50s for us in Palm Coast. Good evening in Titusville. We are back to 63 right now. Wildwood, Bushnell, good evening. We're also back to 63 degrees. Taking you through the rest of the evening, it is still going to be cool, but more like seasonably cool as we go through the rest of the evening, through the overnight. Still jacket worthy when you wake up tomorrow morning, but now most of us are going to be into the 40s rather than the 20s and 30s of the past couple of days. Still a little breezy out there. We're going to work to try to shut that off for sure, but it's still gusty. Orlando coming in with a 22 mile per hour gust. Kissimmee, we're back to about 18 mile per hour gust out of the north. Eventually, we shift that out of the south and pump in some even more warmth. We're going to have that part of your forecast coming up at about 5:17, Matt.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, a former school principal will now be waiting 2 extra weeks before she learns her punishment. Last year, Elizabeth Hill Brodigan was arrested for her role in an underage teen party at her house. At the time, she was the principal of Roosevelt Elementary School. Police say they found more than 100 underage teens at the party. Many had been drinking. One even needed to go to the hospital for alcohol poisoning. Another was arrested for DUI. Hill Brodigan was supposed to be in court today for a plea sentencing hearing. That hearing got bumped to 2 weeks. We'll keep an eye on it, let you know when it does happen. In just a matter of hours, the Brevard School Board could vote to make Cape Canaveral the county's largest city without a school. Built in the early 60s, the school district says Cape View Elementary has lost about half its students in just the past 10 years. Leaders thinking about closing the school, but neighbors are fighting to try to keep it open. Your Cape Canaveral community correspondent James Sparvero continues his coverage of the issue.
Months of worrying about the future of Cape Canaveral's only school all comes down to tonight's vote here at school board headquarters. As I've reported since September, this is finally the night board members will decide whether or not to close Cape View Elementary School, which is under-enrolled, and send the 200 students to Roosevelt Elementary School, 7 miles away in Cocoa Beach.
It's our only school. It's really important to us.
2 weeks ago, Cape Canaveral's mayor and city council made their plea to the board. They might get support tonight from John Thomas, who thinks maybe the new space race will bring young families back to the Cape.
My biggest concern is making sure that we keep enough capacity because we don't know what the space industry is going to do.
On the other hand, throughout this process, board member Katie Campbell has talked about demographics right now. The average age for someone living in Cape Canaveral is 59 years old.
The community is graying. It's the same people who have lived there forever. Their kids are grown and gone. They're still there, but there's no more children.
Over the last 4 months, Cape View's PTO president, Rajesh Ravi Sankar, has told me his community isn't giving up the fight.
We will definitely protest.
After more than 60 years here, Rajesh thinks the district owes it to the community to help find ways to improve attendance.
Why is it the teacher's job or the community to provide you with solutions?
Tonight's meeting starts at 5 o'clock. We'll have a crew here to keep you updated how the board votes and then get reaction from the community to how they vote. In Brevard County, I'm your Cape Canaveral community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Thank you, James. We're learning the family of a 70-year-old woman who died after riding a roller coaster at Universal Orlando has hired a lawyer. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump says he'll be representing the family of Ma de Luz Mejia Rosas. A quarterly public report from Florida's Ag Department says the workers found that woman unresponsive after riding Revenge of the Mummy in November. It happened just days before Thanksgiving. The report says she died at the hospital. The indoor roller coaster first opened at Universal Studios in 2004. President Trump marking 1 year since his return to office as he heads to Davos, Switzerland tonight for the 2026 World Economic Forum. Tensions with European leaders are high over the future of Greenland. Erica Brown has the latest from Capitol Hill.
At the White House Tuesday, President Trump highlighted the accomplishments of the first year of his second term.
We created super high economic growth, and America is booming.
Nearby, demonstrators marked this anniversary with a protest. It comes ahead of the president's high-stakes trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, amid his intensifying push to acquire Greenland. Ahead of the summit, he posted on social media a doctored image of an Oval Office meeting showing a map of Canada and Greenland covered with the American flag. In another post, he disclosed a private message from French President Emmanuel Macron saying, quote, "I do not understand what you're doing on Greenland." In Davos, Macron suggested countries should push back on the president.
We need more growth, we need more stability in this world, but we do prefer respect to bullies.
President Trump has threatened new tariffs on countries that resist his push to take over Greenland, which he insists is needed for national security reasons. But some lawmakers have slammed the president's treatment of allies.
It's time to cool this down and stop. Threats against Europe, against NATO, are not in our national best interest.
President Trump says he's agreed to various meetings with allies in Davos and reiterated Greenland is imperative and, quote, "there will be no going back." Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, you may have noticed it if you live in Lake or maybe Seminole County. There are some smoky skies out there. Next at 5, we're looking into why you're seeing it and the prescribed burns that could lead to more.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
Prescribed burns leading to smoke sky high over Lake County over the past few days. But why are the burns happening right now? News 6's Catherine Silver is live in Lake County. Kat, it might not only be Lake County where you can see these happening right now, huh?
That's right. It's certainly the time of year for these burns to happen. The Forest Service says that people can likely see the smoke from the fire in Lake County and parts of Seminole County as well. Before we even got to Buck Run Road, we started to see the smoke in the distance. This is where the Florida Forest Service is fighting fire with fire, a 100-acre controlled burn that will hopefully keep a wildfire from burning out of control. The fire is deep in the woods where we can't get to it, but we can show you some of the green mixed in with all the dry brush here in the Seminole State Forest. Listen to that crunch. This is the kind of fuel that can feed a forest fire.
There's 28,000 acres out here.
This weekend, Lake County Fire Rescue shared this up-close look at a 1,700-acre prescribed burn. Every year, over 2 million acres are burned in this way in Florida. And every dot on this map shows you where a burn is happening right now. There are hundreds across the state, from pile burns to bigger burns. We saw so many people talking about seeing smoke on Monday. Why was it so visible miles away?
High pressure. So high pressure is the same area that brings us the clear skies and the calm conditions and those chilly days that we've had. Well, it also brings sinking air.
We sat down with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos to talk about the dry conditions.
At this point, we are abnormally dry in the majority of Central Florida, which is not great, but it's not horrible.
And what can reduce the fire danger ahead.
These fronts that we've been getting every couple of days or so, they bring kind of that kind of misty rain, some heavier downpours at times. That's what we need. So it's no surprise that firefighters are doing their prescribed burns, because as the conditions are dry now, this is the opportunity before wildfire season starts to kind of take that proactive approach in protecting not only, our wooded areas, but also the neighborhoods surrounding them.
Orange County also put out an alert about a prescribed burn. It will be happening in the Kelly Park area in Apopka tomorrow. I'm live in Lake County. Catherine Silver, News 6.
Catherine, thank you very much for that look. We have been seeing some chilly weather the past few days. Let's bring in meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. Jonathan, we're seeing some potential changes in the forecast, though, right?
We are. Yeah, Matt, and the air is nice and dry. That's the other thing that they look for these prescribed burns as well. Everything that burns nice and easy, but it's also the days we look for the higher fire risk as well, and the relative humidity on the lower side. Again, we're kind of right in that 30 to 40% ballpark, so not a critical fire day by any means, and that's one of the reasons why they're taking advantage of getting some of that brush out of the way. Temperature change over the past 24 hours. It's nothing too crazy, but certainly we have the yellows and oranges back, about 5 to 10 degrees warmer, give or take, across most of Central Florida when compared to yesterday at this time. That puts us right back into the upper 50s and lower 60s just before 5:30 this evening. Cocoa Beach, good evening. We are at 63, 62 for us in Mico. The Villages, we're hanging out at 61. We're at 55 now on Palm Coast. Ocala, we are still in the lower 60s. Lows today in the 20s and 30s. Again, we start that gradual warm up out of this extended chill really starting tomorrow. Ocala, we bottomed out at 27 today, 39 in Sanford, back to the upper 30s in Orlando as well. Palm Coast, we started at 31 degrees. If you're keeping count at home, today is the 6th day that we were cooler than 40 degrees at the Orlando International Airport, going back through some of the history here. That's our 6th day of that happening so far. Last season, we had 0 days below 40 degrees. That's the most now, 6 is, since 2019, where we had 11 days colder than 40. So it has certainly been one of the colder stretches that we've had to deal with. And again, that number going back to the start of the chilly season. Here's a live look now in Daytona Beach. It's that time of the evening where we have the perfect sunsets. We're back to the mid-50s right now. Gorgeous shot here in Daytona. The breeze, it's still up there a little bit out of the northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. We're gradually going to watch that start to come back down again overnight into tomorrow. 45 in Mount Dora. Ocala, we're starting off tomorrow right around 40 degrees. Kissimmee, we're going to start things off at 48. Now here's a look at your afternoon.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
And those temperatures, by the way, are right where we should be for this time of the year. And we are back into that ballpark as well for tomorrow's afternoon high temperatures. Kissimmee, we're at 73. Also that mark in Ocala. We're hanging around 70 in Palm Coast. Palm Bay, good evening. We're back to 73 degrees with just a few passing clouds. Big chunk of Arctic air is going to be hanging out, kind of where it should, but it is bleeding across the northern tier of the country. Our friend, that Bermuda high there, is going to help to warm us back up. So at least there's now a battle now, kind of pushing back on that Arctic air trying to come south. This is all the way through the weekend now. It's Saturday at 5 o'clock, pretty much hanging over the Caribbean now, sending us some of that warmth that is going to go into producing a big-time winter storm across a lot of the Mid-South. I'm going to show you that part of the forecast coming up at about 5:47. But for us, out ahead of a cool down coming in early next week, we are going to warm things back up again into the lower 80s. So there's 76 on Thursday, 80 on Friday. What cool down, Matt? There's 81 degrees. We are definitely breaking out of the freeze by Saturday.
All right, looks like a great weekend, Jonathan. Thank you. Well, we all know how tough it can be to get a doctor's appointment these days. Probably having to plan weeks, maybe even months ahead. Well, coming up, we're taking a look at just how long those wait times get and the alternatives that are starting to pop up if you pay for them.
Your Tuesday evening traffic alert. The holiday is over and there's no rain really in sight, and the cold doesn't slow down construction. So watch out, lane closures overnight along the Florida Turnpike. You'll see those slowdowns. Then out here along State Road 528, daytime and nighttime closures. Not full, but minor lane slowdowns. And then overnight you'll see out by the attractions, 528 in the Turnpike, lane closure. And then out here, Pine Hills and Indian Hill Road. I'm Trooper Steve with your News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely. I'll catch you guys in the morning.
If it feels harder to get an appointment with a doctor these days, it's not your imagination. And if you think it's bad now, by 2034, the U.S. could face a shortage of up to 124,000 physicians. Insurance premiums are rising. Some offices aren't taking on new patients, doctors are leaving their practices, and getting a next day appointment, not an easy thing. A 2025 AMN healthcare survey found patients in many major U.S. cities now wait an average of 31 days for a doctor's appointment. That's up from 21 days 2 decades ago. One problem is access. A bigger one is how much time a doctor spends with you during your exam. Researchers estimate a typical primary care doctor manages about 2,500 patients. To provide all the recommended care, that report said they'd need 27 hours each day. So what's the reality? A January 2021 survey says the average visit lasts just 18 minutes. And quick fixes like walk-in clinics and telehealth, well, they help until the care gets complex. That pressure and the fracturing of primary health care has fueled two alternatives: concierge medicine and direct primary care, or DPC. Concierge medicine practices charge annual retainers, often $2,000 to $10,000, sometimes more, for smaller patient panels, longer visits, and faster access. DPC cuts insurance out of the primary care completely. Patients typically pay $50 to $150 a month for unlimited visitors and longer appointments. But you still need insurance for hospitals and specialists. Supporters say these models restore time and relationships. Critics, however, warn they may deepen healthcare inequities. The choice comes down to this: speed, cost, and access. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, just the one that fits your health, your wallet, and your tolerance for waiting. For Dollars and Cents, I'm Donovan Meyer.
Here's a live look at Daytona Beach. What a gorgeous sunset we wanted to show you. Lots of news going on today. Stick with us. You're watching News 6. Keep it here. We'll be right back. Glad you're with us. I'm Matt Austin. You're watching News 6 at 5. We're following several big stories for you right now. Multiple law enforcement agencies responded to a home in Orlando's Paramore neighborhood. That's according to Orlando police. Among the mix of what appears to be unmarked law enforcement is a car marked Florida Gulf Coast University Human Identity and Trauma Analysis. We're staying on top of this story. We don't have a lot of information on it right now, but something's going on. We'll update you when we know more. Orange County Sheriff's Office says a former patient stabbed a licensed mental health counselor and hurt the counselor's client. The Sheriff's Office says Rebecca White died after her former client, Michael Smith, stabbed her multiple times at her office. The second victim is in critical condition, telling police he had just finished with his therapy session. Police in DeLand say a man accused of choking a child is now in custody. It happened this morning on Clear Lake Drive and North Spring Garden Avenue. According to DeLand police, a witness says they saw the suspect, Christopher Schwabel, attack the child and hit Schwabel with a toolbox. Police say Schwabel is now out of the hospital in the Volusia County Jail, facing charges of aggravated assault and aggravated child abuse. As we work to learn more about federal immigration enforcement operations in Central Florida, we're getting some new data from the Orange County Jail that speaks to the high volume of immigrant detainees right now. Your Orange County community correspondent, Mike Valenti, joins us now. Mike, you just spoke to a public information officer with the county. What did she tell you?
Yeah, Matt, good evening. Listen to this. That spokesperson telling me that as of this morning, there were 380 inmates with an ICE hold inside the Orange County Jail behind me. Now, between the 1st of January this year and last Friday, the 16th, there were 831 bookings with an immigration hold. One county spokesperson told me Friday that to give us perspective, quote, there have been a significant number of rebookings, end quote. On January 9th, there were 71 inmates booked with immigration holds, with 7 of them also facing local charges. 1 week later, the 16th, that number was up to 377 inmates with immigration holds, 191 of them also facing underlying local charges.
I'm just disturbed by what's happening in our world.
In Central Florida, ICE's presence alone has sparked protests.
I think it's time to make a stand.
Here in Kissimmee Tuesday morning, you've got a modest protest off John Young Parkway, about 24 people voicing their criticism of ICE. And then just steps away, if you look over here, just one counter protester who keeps saying, let ICE do their job. I think he's echoing a sentiment you hear from people who disagree with you, who say that ICE is just enforcing the law. What do you say to that argument?
I think that if we would talk to some of our other law enforcement officers, we would see this is not how we enforce the law in America.
You can hear them say clearly, let ICE do their job. What do you think of that?
I think there is a role for immigration, just it needs to be not mass sweeps. As a veteran of 6 years, that I fought to kind of equal rights for everyone.
Back here outside the Orange County Jail, that sole counter-protester in Kissimmee was pretty adamant about not wanting to talk to us, but he did make his position known. Now, there are other planned protests this week as critics hope to send a message of their own that they do not want ICE in their community, and they definitely do not want a potential detention facility. Again, you'll remember our reporting last week. ICE confirmed to us that they are eyeing a warehouse on Transport Drive with the possibility of converting that into a detention facility. More to come on that front. Of course, keep it here on air and online on clickorlando.com for any updates to this important story. We're live outside the Orange County Jail. I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6.
Always something new with this story. Mike Valenti, thank you. Happening tomorrow, we could find out more about what brought NASA's Crew 11 home early from the International Space Station. NASA says Crew 11 astronauts are going to have a press conference at 2:15 tomorrow to talk about that mission. The 4-person crew came home last week after a medical situation aboard the ISS about a month before they were supposed to undock. We haven't learned much about the situation, including what that medical emergency was or which astronaut was impacted. Well, a handful of state bills are looking to address affordability in mobile home parks this year. For hundreds of thousands of Floridians who own their homes, but then they rent the land beneath them, rising lot rents have become a big concern. Tiffany Salome with our affiliate in Jacksonville walks us through the legislation under consideration that would force landlords to justify those rent increases.
Florida mobile home park rent rules might be changing. There are a few bills working their way through the Florida legislature, one which would require landlords to justify rent hikes. And it's something people are very excited about.
I got the holes in my floors and
yeah,
I can't get that fixed. And I need things done, like physically done to the trailer, but I can't do that now because I'm paying all this extra money to keep a roof over my head.
How much has your rent increased?
Well, when I first moved here, my rent was $325. Now it's up to close to $8 now.
$800.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a $500 increase.
Yep.
This is an issue I've been covering for some time. People are complaining that it's just become unaffordable to live in a mobile home. We talked with a few people today who still share those same concerns. Is it too much money for you to pay?
Yeah, $100 more in my Social Security for now, because I don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like lie. It's $1,020.
Yeah.
And for everything, almost $900.
You only have like 100 or so.
Yeah.
If these bills pass, mobile home park landlords would no longer be able to raise lot rent without showing their work. They'd have to provide detailed documentation, things like invoices and cost breakdowns, to prove the increase is justified. And if a park cuts back on amenities without lowering rent, they could face penalties.
How do you think that would help you guys here?
I think it would help and everything, just kind of give us a heads up, like, this is the reason why, so we can do improvements.
How much has your rent increased in the last few years?
About $350. I mean, I don't know when the last time when all the, like, water pipes were done in the park or anything like that.
Do they give you a reason when they are increasing the rent?
They said to improve, I guess, the property.
Have you seen any improvements?
The only improvement I've seen that they got the pool up and running. Even though it's increasing, it's still cheaper than if I want to move.
That was Tiffany Salome reporting. The bills would also allow judges to get more power to closely review rent hikes. They also offer new protections, doubling the grace period for late rent to 10 days and stopping park owners from forcing electronic payments. You can see all of our investigator Lewis Bolden's coverage. He's covered this a ton on mobile home park issues if you're dealing with this in our investigators section of clickorlando.com. Well, are the rules on chickens in your backyard too restrictive? Right now, the Volusia County Council is talking about it. The county only allows chickens with a certain permit, and the lot size has to be at least a quarter acre. The council says surrounding county rules are less restrictive. They're trying to decide if they should do the same. They say the current rules limit participation. The county is working to decide lot size and other rules, including removing that building permit possibly. We'll let you know what happens. Well, it is one of the busiest roads in Central Florida. People are telling Trooper Steve there are some real traffic concerns out on State Road 436 in Orange County. So Steve went out to look at how those traffic concerns are impacting safety, including taking a peek at the speeders.
I was looking through the email and looking at traffic complaints. That's what I wanted to tackle today, were traffic complaints. And a few people were like, leave Vista 436. And I was like, what? Really? This area? And they're saying, well, the stretch leading up to the airport is 45 miles an hour, and you get people doing 60 plus, in and out of traffic, no turning lane. And I go, you know what? They're probably right. Because you get such a mix of drivers in this area, whether it be rideshare, taxi, people driving with their eyes closed. We're going to drive around, do a traffic observation today along 436 out here. Some incorporated Orange County, some city of Orlando. However, it's just a very busy area. What we want to see is what is traffic flow out here like? What are people's driving behaviors like? Are they going too fast? Are they going too slow? Are they on their phone? And I tell you, what I've seen since being out here, Since I got out here about 10, everyone's on their phone. So I'm doing 45 already. They're pulling away from me. So that's an easy 55. All right. Right car, the Beamer, we'll leave them alone, you know, but we're in a 45 mile an hour speed zone. You have to be cautious of stuff like this, guys.
Hit the road with Trooper Steve on patrol weekdays 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on the News 6 Plus streaming app for your smart TV or clickorlando.com.
Get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone.
Man, that kid has some stuff to him, doesn't he? It was a game for the ages last night at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. Indiana Hoosiers complete that historic undefeated season, beating the Miami Hurricanes last night 27-21 in Miami's home stadium. It was a great game, though, and a great season for the Hurricanes. School threat hoaxes have become all too common. We've had 2 right here in Central Florida just in the past week and a half. Coming up, we're taking a look at the deeper impacts to students when these hoaxes are called in. Jonathan.
A little cool out there right now as we are watching the sun go down, but gigantic warm-up on the way as we get ready to head into the upcoming weekend. We're going to pinpoint the timeline on that and get another cool down in a few minutes.
Check out the primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news at 9. Get your weather questions answered with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour early. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. Download that streaming app for free. Search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Shark Coatings.
Three threats in 5 days, but one major concern. They're all fake.
It takes me back to that very day, right? It's like pulling a scab off of a wound.
that is trying to heal.
In 2019, Rico Sharp's son was in high school at Lake Mary when he got an alert. It was locked down for a shooting.
I just really went numb. I'm like, this can't be happening. Not here, not now.
A 17-year-old had taken her life. While Rico's son and the remaining students survived, he still can't shake the familiar pit in his stomach when he sees headlines like these.
To experience the terror and the fear that ran through my body.
Look at this, January 8th, 9th, and 12th. What do all these days have in common? Parents left scrambling, trying to get to their kids in lockdown because of what they thought was a looming threat.
They think it's funny. It's not funny at all. You have to treat each one as if it's a real call.
At Lake Brantley High, a tip about a potential threat forced to code red. A day later, and also in Seminole County, this eerie video of a masked figure threatening area schools, prompting immediate lockdowns. Then in 72 hours, Lake Minneola got a bomb threat.
Know what your kids are doing on the internet.
Flagler County not impacted this time, but the sheriff is no stranger to threats and says a single swatting call can cost upwards of $10,000 between the overwhelming police response and the subsequent investigation.
Knock it off.
But data points beyond the dollars, proving that fake school threats can have harmful, long-term ripple effects, like eroding public trust while traumatizing communities, prompting harsh warnings.
Where there is smoke, there will potentially be fire.
And you're going to get handcuffs on, you're going to get fingerprinted, your mug shot's going to be taken. You're held accountable.
Lauren Melendez, News 6.
Lauren tells us the father you just heard from has created a curriculum to help educators and families facilitate important conversations around school threats and violence. Get those details at clickorlando.com. We've received some numbers from Seminole School District on how many students were out the day after a hoax call at Lake Brantley High. The district says it has about 62,400 students enrolled. The next day, nearly 7,000 of those students were not in the classroom, according to the district. It's about 10%. Now, we don't know if the students were out of school because of the hoax or because of something else, like an illness, but those are, in fact, the numbers. All right, let's take you to meteorologist Jonathan Kegas for a look at a beautiful sunset, and that sun is coming back for us, my friend. We're going to get some nice warm weather.
We are, yeah. I mean, it felt great when you're standing in the sun today. There's still that breeze out there, but the sun dominant this afternoon is expected. Live look outside downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando Delivering Hope sky cam this evening. Fantastic out there. It's cooling off. We're back to the lower 60s. The breeze still has a little bit of a bite to it out of the northeast at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. That will gradually subside as high pressure builds in, but nonetheless, it is adding a little bit of insult outside once the sun goes down to make it feel a little bit cooler. The Villages, we're at 59 right now. We're at 61 degrees in Orlando, Titusville at 63, Melbourne, we are at 62. So even while we are much warmer than yesterday, still running about 10 degrees, give or take, below where we should be for this time of the year. Now here's a look at your forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Advent Health.
Still might want the coat if you're up walking the dog early tomorrow, standing at the school bus. Nonetheless, it is better than where we've been by a wide margin, by about 10 or so degrees from where we were today even. 49 in Orlando tomorrow. Denellen still chilly. We're at 37. Same for us in Ocala. 46 degrees in Palm Coast. You see, though, we are getting closer to where we should be for this time of the year. So it's going to be seasonably chilly when you wake up tomorrow morning. Seasonably warm tomorrow afternoon. We're back to the low 70s in Mount Dora, 70 in Palm Coast. Palm Bay, good evening. We are at 73 tomorrow. Also that for us in Bushnell, back into Groveland as well. Clouds and rain forecast as we move forward. There's not going to be much rain in the 7-day forecast. That's 4 to 5 o'clock. On your Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, just a few high passing clouds. Otherwise, we're looking pretty good. That's 7 o'clock with a few extra clouds trying to push in. This is as we now shift the wind direction a little bit to help to pump in some of that extra warmth that's going to start building across the Gulf Coast. You see back down in Brownsville, we're at 76, in the 60s in New Orleans, 70s in Miami. The big chill, though, going to continue to hold its grip across the northern tier of the country, specifically the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. For now, that's where that is going to stay. But the combination of the warmth surging from the north and the big chill again hanging tight in the upper Midwest, northern plains, and Northeast Great Lakes, it's going to help to creating this big-time winter storm. This one's going to steal headlines as we go from Friday into Sunday. The wintry stuff is staying away from Florida, but look at this. Big-time ice storm potential from Texas all the way through Georgia and the Carolinas. On the colder side of that, you're talking about a major snowstorm, potentially a foot or more from places like Oklahoma back towards Virginia, and then eventually getting into the Northeast. We get just a little bit of rain out of the deal with this, but it will usher in some cooler air again as we get into the early part of next work week. But not a ton of rain for us, which unfortunately we could use, as we all know. 20% shot for a few passing showers on Thursday or Friday. Look at the temperatures, though. That's the big story locally as we flip the script again and get back to the mid-70s on Thursday, right around 80 on Friday. Lower 80s on Saturday, back to the mid-70s on Sunday. That's when those rain chances come in from that bigger system to our north. There's the chill again, Matt. Back to the lower 60s for highs by next Tuesday.
Well, we can't escape it. All right, thank you, Jonathan. Well, arts funding cut last year across Volusia County. That made a lot of people upset. Coming up, what the county may do to bring back some of that funding ahead at 6.
How safe are the online platforms that connect you with professionals?
We gave this man money, expecting him to show up to site our house, and he didn't. After $5,000.
A Central Florida couple lost thousands, and they're not the only ones. And there's an alert from the Better Business Bureau. I'm investigator Louis Bold, and our investigation tonight at 6 on News 6.
Coming up in the morning, keeping kids safe online.
Yeah, we talked to detectives on where predators are hiding, and you guys are not going to believe the lengths they go to try to get in touch with your kids.
And guess what? Weather warmer is making a comeback. Candace will have your forecast every 10 minutes.
Join us for News 6 Mornings, starting at 6.
Here's a live look at beautiful downtown Mount Dora on a really comfortable day. You're watching News 6 at 5. We'll be right back. Volusia County art groups holding their breath tonight, hoping a councilman's request to restore their grant funding finally gets heard. Last fall, the county council slashed about $600,000 that supported more than 30 local organizations. Your Volusia County community correspondent, Molly Reed, is digging into what this means for those groups.
The idea to reinstate the funding came up at a recent county council workshop, and now I'm told a councilman is expected to bring it back up here tonight for an official discussion. Now, since the cuts back in the fall, art groups have been showing up at every single one of the council meetings here, fighting to get the money back, saying they're having to make massive program cuts because of it.
It is important to be able to have where you live and the community invest in the things that actually bring enjoyment to people.
Alexa Baldwin with the Athens Theater in DeLand says without the grant, they have to raise their ticket prices and cut back on shows. She says the grant money went towards musicians, youth scholarships, and special performances.
Part of what that money was going for was so that we could offer accessible performances for our local deaf communities and for the local blind communities.
In October, the council voted to cut the $611,000 in operating grants for 33 cultural groups. Part of the original discussion for the cuts centered around local theaters being used by the Volusia Pride Group for LGBTQ events. It was the second curveball thrown at the organizations last year. The county first changed its requirements for the grant application earlier in 2025, then cut the grant after applications went in.
I just think that we can do as promised, that we can hold true to what we had committed to do before earlier in the year. And then next year, we'll look at it.
While Volusia County Council Vice Chair Matt Reinhart is for reinstating it, Council Chair Jeff Brower says he's not bending.
And not that arts aren't important, they are, but is it a core responsibility of government to pay for the arts? And in my opinion, it's not.
We'll, of course, bring you any updates on that discussion from the council meeting on clickorlando.com. I'm your Volusia County Community Correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
Thank you, Molly. We're following some real developing stories for you tonight on News 6 at 6. This includes an investigation in Orlando, what we're now learning as police spent most of the day digging in the yard of a home on South Lee Avenue. Plus, a school in Cape Canaveral on the chopping block because of low enrollment. We're looking at what Brevard school leaders say they're voting on for the future of Cape View Elementary. And here's a live look at downtown Orlando. Man, I'll tell you, that sunset is calling tonight from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
Now on News 6 at 6, a horrific update after a deadly stabbing in Orlando.
Nothing but a tragic story in many, many different ways.
What may have led to that double stabbing Monday night? Plus, what we're learning as Brevard County school leaders could vote to close Cape View Elementary tonight. And a Central Florida couple is out thousands after hiring a professional online.
We said, we want our money back, and they said, no.
How you can protect your money. News 6 at 6 starts now. Well, today we're learning more about a deadly stabbing that shut down a part of Lee Road last night in Orlando. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says a licensed mental health counselor and another man were stabbed in her office by a former client. The counselor died at the hospital. Your Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampton has been talking to people who live in that area. Tylisa, you just spoke with one of the victim's clients.
That's exactly right, Matt. Now, this man says he had to drive up here to see it for himself because he had been seeing this counselor for 3 years, also scheduled to see her today. He says he could not believe it, and he says it's a tragic loss. For some, it's an unimaginable loss.
Emotionally, I think that's a hole that's never going to be filled.
I can see your eyes getting watery right now. Can you tell me, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I'm trying to think about what to do for the rest of the day.
Monday night, a swarm of patrol cars flooded Lee Road near Addison Street with caution tape around this building. Those living around the corner still shaken.
It's horrific.
Orange County Sheriff's Office says 44-year-old Rebecca White, a licensed mental health counselor, died after being stabbed multiple times at her office when she was confronted by her former client, Michael Smith. The second victim, a man in his 30s, is in critical condition. He told police he had just finished with his therapy session and was stabbed trying to call 911. Hours after the stabbing the next morning, authorities say deputies found Smith's body about 30 minutes away from the scene on Windy Ridge Road, believing he died by suicide.
Nothing but a tragic story in many, many different ways.
For Patrick Floto, he left work to drive here, where he says Rebecca had been his therapist for 3 years.
Just had to make sure it's not true, but it is.
Patrick says he had just spoke to Rebecca about scheduling a session for this afternoon. What will you miss about Rebecca?
And she will actually make your goals. She'll clarify your goals, and she'll hold you to the boundaries that you set for yourself.
He says Rebecca was someone who brought out the best in everyone.
I think the world is a worse place without Rebecca in it.
And again, Patrick says that Rebecca will be dearly missed. And again, there's more information that we're still working to find out as this investigation continues, like why that former client showed up to this office in the first place. And as we find out more, we'll make sure to update you. Reporting for News 6 in Orange County, I'm Tylisa Hampton. Back to you, Matt.
Tylisa, thank you. New at 6 now. We have learned why SWAT teams and Orange County deputies were in a neighborhood in Pine Hills today. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says a woman got into a fight with her boyfriend at a home on Noel Street. They say the boyfriend then pointed a gun at her, shot a round into the ground. When law enforcement got to the home, they were working to see if this guy was inside the home. He was not. They have now an active arrest warrant out for that guy. Some of our neighbors in Paramore likely looking for answers after a big law enforcement presence at a home in Paramore there. It's just off of South Lee Avenue. There have been undercover units, canines, even the Florida Gulf Coast University had a team out there. Your Orange County community correspondent Jana Manohalal was the first to arrive on scene at 10 this morning. She's following the latest.
Yeah, that FGCU unit is actually the Human Remains Identity and Trauma Analysis. We have no confirmed response as to why they were out here assisting OPD earlier today. Now, teams wrapped up just about 4:30 this afternoon, and there was definitely more activity in the back of the house than in the front of the house. Orlando Police and FGCU were out here digging in the backyard using sifters and pulling items out. As of right now, we don't know what evidence they were digging for. Orlando Police will only tell us they are continuing a search warrant here at 722 South Lee Avenue in reference to an ongoing investigation. When we first arrived, those crews were working inside the house taking multiple pictures. The teams were using multiple yellow and pink evidence flags to focus on where they've been digging and where they wanted to dig. There were more undercover units here than there were marked units, and neighbors have been outside all day watching the house since we started this morning on Tuesday. One neighbor who is a UCF student who lives down the road said he did not want to come outside this morning since the police presence was so heavy.
I actually live right down the street. I don't know what's going on. This is actually super surprising. Yellow tape. I did not think I'd ever see yellow tape around this house.
As of right now, OPD has no additional information to offer us, and FGCU does acknowledge they had a team out here helping OPD, but again, did not offer an explanation as to why. When we get that information, I'll be sure to bring it to you here and on clickorlando.com. For now, in Paramore, I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Jana Manahalal, News 6.
You can read all these developing stories, get updates once we learn more by going to clickorlando.com. Another Central Florida school's on the chopping block. Tonight, the Brevard County School Board set to vote whether to close down Cape View Elementary. They say the school's only operating at about 50% capacity now. News 6's Troy Campbell is in Brevard County where that meeting is underway. Troy.
Yeah, Matt, so that meeting, it did just begin behind me. When we stepped out, there were speakers going up to the board, making an emotional plea, saying that the school is not just a school, saying it's actually a corner point for their entire community. Now, tonight, we do expect the school board to make that official vote whether to close down that elementary school. Now, for months, we've been telling you how Brevard Public Schools has been considering closing Cape View Elementary School in Cape Canaveral. Now, Brevard Public Schools says enrollment has decreased at the school in recent years. In fact, they say the average age now for people in Cape Canaveral, 59. If the decision is made to shut down the school, the 300 students would be rezoned to Roosevelt Elementary School, which is about 7 miles away. 2 weeks ago, city leaders, community members, they showed up here to speak to the board, urging them to reconsider. Cape Canaveral Mayor Wes Morrison has said his city that it's not only a school, it says it's part of the city's identity.
It's our only school. It's really important to us, and it's a part of our community.
Speaking to the parents and to the community, we are still not giving up on our school. The city has been behind us from the get-go.
And again, the school board is expected to make that final vote on whether to close the school here tonight. We're going to go back inside, listen to what people have to say, and of course, we'll bring that to you tonight at 10 and 11. Live in Brevard County, Troy Campbell, News 6. Back to you.
Troy, thank you. Back in October, we told you about a Lake County handyman, Chad Heasley, who ran off with an elderly couple's money and now has a warrant out for his arrest. Well, Winter Garden woman saw that report, contacted us saying she and her husband had the same issue with the very same handyman. They both found him on the website Angie, which raises the question, how safe are the online platforms that connect us to professionals?
What did you want done?
This was all white, old, and moldy.
When Tracy Griffin and her husband needed new siding and a roof repair on their Winter Garden home, they turned to the website Angie for help.
Angie says that they stand behind their contractors and they vet their contractors.
Griffin was matched with a company called QC Painting Incorporated. They signed this contract with the owner, Chad Heasley, and gave 2 deposits, one for $2,000, another for $3,000, according to bank statements, but he never showed up.
We gave this man money, expecting him to show up to side our house, and he didn't. After $5,000.
Griffin says she and her husband filed a complaint with Angie that went nowhere.
We said, we want our money back, and they said, no. And then it was about a 6-month period where finally they're like, nope, go pursue other avenues.
But News 6 found during that time, according to reviews now posted on Angie, Heasley was allegedly doing the same thing to other people. One person says he took her for $11,000. Another says she made 2 deposits, $2,500 and almost $6,000, and never heard from him again.
So I think that Angie should pay us back the $5,000 because we went with this guy based on Angie's recommendation.
QC Painting is now listed as under review on Angie's site and not Angie approved. But News 6 uncovered, after the Griffins experience, Chad Heasley, seen here in surveillance video, started another company, Florida Priority Home Solutions, and advertised on Angie.
He told me Angie was his reference.
Back in October, we told you how Irene Simon lost $2,500 to Heasley under the new company name. So he just took the money and ran.
He took the money and left.
News 6 did some digging and found the Better Business Bureau in Indiana has issued an alert about Angie. Have you had any complaints where consumers paid a handyman and they ran off with their money?
Yes, we've had complaints related to consumers using Angie to find professionals that then take the money for the work and then do not do the work.
An Angie spokesperson sent News 6 a statement reading in part, "We're always disheartened when a homeowner has an issue with a pro. In each of these scenarios, the pro was removed from our network within a week of the complaint date and was no longer able to match with homeowners on our platform." We tried reaching out to Heasley but got no response. Lewis Bolden, News 6.
Happening tonight in Lake County, leaders meeting to talk about the future of Donnelly Street in Mount Dora. City leaders actually meeting right now to decide whether or not to allow a construction company to install new infrastructure as a part of the repairs to North Donnelly. You'll remember this road had some really bad damage after historic floods late last year. The damage had some business owners downtown worried since Donnelly is a main artery for that area. This meeting started just minutes ago. We're going to give you an update once we learn more. This morning, the city approved funding for construction on Britt Road, which was damaged during Hurricane Milton. All eyes on the stock market tonight as it closed with a major drop in stocks today. Coming up, we're breaking down what's causing this as experts point to tariff threats as a main sticking point today. Jonathan.
A little warmer today, then we're really cranking up the thermostat as we move forward to this work weekend into your weekend. We're going to highlight that part of your forecast coming up at about 6:17.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health.
All right, let's get you an update to some breaking news we're following out of DeLand. Police say this guy right here is accused of choking a child waiting at their bus stop. He's now in custody after a Good Samaritan stepped in, helped save the teen, and made him look like that. News 6's Ashley Garrett is live in DeLand with the latest on this tonight. Ashley, what can you tell us?
Matt, first of all, that is quite a mugshot that we just showed to our viewers tonight. And also new tonight, we have that suspect's name and an exact location. It's right over my shoulder where DeLand police say that incident happened. I'll step out of the shot and walk you through the case. So according to DeLand police, 36-year-old Christopher Schwabel, who we just showed you, is accused of ag child abuse and ag assault. Police say the reported attack happened just before 8:30 this morning at a bus stop. And DeLand, here at this location, this is Clear Lake Drive and North Spring Avenue. Well, according to police, the reported attack led to a confrontation involving another man who just so happened to be in the area at the time. Now, that person is said to have known the child who was allegedly being hurt. We're learning during the incident, the second man approached Schwabel, that suspect, asking him what he was doing. So the police report then states Schwabel at some point pulled a knife, which police say apparently led to a physical altercation with the second man on scene. Police say that altercation led to Schwabel being hit in the head and bleeding, which eventually led to Schwabel needing some medical assistance on the scene. And back out here live, we do know that Schwabel was cleared medically on the scene, at which point after that was sent to the Volusia County Branch Jail. Coming up in the news at 6, we're going to learn how the Volusia County Public School System is responding to today's case, and also how a neighbor in the area is responding to what happened today about whether he feels safe moving forward. But for now, we'll send things back to you in the studio live in Volusia County. I'm Ashley Garrett for WKMG News 6.
Yeah, scary situation out at the bus stop there. Ashley, thank you for that update. You can read more on this breaking news story as we learn more by going to clickorlando.com. Time now to get that all-important check of your weather. What a comfortable, nice day today as we begin a slight warm-up phase before we get another cool down. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas.
Yeah, that slight warm-up is going to turn into a really big warm-up before that cool down coming on the pipeline. Once we get into the weekend, especially right now, it's still cool outside, especially with that breeze out of the northeast at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. 57 in Ocala, 52 in Palm Coast. We'll take this over the freezing temperatures that we just had earlier this morning across still a lot of Central Florida below the freezing mark in the Villages today. Ocala, we started at 27, back to the upper 30s in Sanford and Orlando, 42 in Kissimmee this morning. Keeping tabs on the 30s. So far this year, we've been below 40 degrees 6 times at the Orlando International Airport. Compare that to last season. We had 0 days go below 40 degrees. That would be the most days we've had below 40 since way back in 2019, where there were 11. And I think there could be more to come going forward as we warm things up, but then another blast of colder air comes in behind that. Here's a gorgeous shot here at Daytona Beach. We're watching these sky cams for the last hour or so to show off tonight. 54 degrees under a clear sky. The breeze, at least in Daytona, out of the north-northeast, sustained at about 10-ish miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, it's still jacket-worthy, but it's seasonably cold tomorrow. We're back to the upper 40s in Orlando. That'll put us into the upper 30s across Marion County. Good evening in Denellen. We'll start around 37. Palm Coast around 46. Titusville, we are back to 55. Now here's a look at your afternoon.
Your forecast is sponsored by Strata Services.
Back to kind of where we should be for this time of the year. Low to mid 70s in Mount Dora, Sanford, we're at 72. Oviedo, we're going to be at 72 tomorrow afternoon. Winter Haven back to the mid 70s as well. Cocoa Beach, we are at 72. I think we'll see a few extra clouds build back through because we shift our wind direction a little bit. Big time battleground takes shape across the entire country over the next really 7 to 10 days. What's going to help us to at least warm up, it's that area of high pressure hanging out towards the Lesser Antilles now. It's going to start to build over the Caribbean and pump in some of that warmth from our south. Note, though, all the purple and blue here, really from the deep south back to the upper Midwest towards the Hudson Bay. That's where the Arctic air is going to be chilling. That's going to help to fuel a very, very big winter storm across the deep south. For us, we will get a little bit of rain and then the temperature drop. But while that is ongoing, we will be very warm. Saturday, we're back to the lower 80s, mid 70s by Sunday. And then there goes the tumble in the temperature department once we get into Monday into the middle part of next week as a result of that system passing by. Well, I think we'll get a little rain out of the deal once we get to the second half of the weekend, but certainly nothing like what our friends in Georgia to Texas back to the Northeast are expecting. 20% shot for a few passing showers Thursday and Friday, slightly better shot on Sunday. And then there comes that chill down, as Matt mentioned earlier, back to the low 60s for highs Monday and Tuesday.
And that is why we live here. Jonathan, thank you. President Trump's clash with European leaders concerning Greenland rattled the markets today. The Dow fell by 870 points, while the S&P and NASDAQ each lost more than 2%. Here's a look at Tuesday's closing numbers. News 6's Donovan Myrie breaks down what's causing it.
The Dow Jones took a sharp dive this morning, dropping more than 600 points in early trading as investors reacted to fresh uncertainty out of Washington. The early sell-off follows renewed concerns about global trade after President Trump threatened new tariffs aimed at European allies. All of this tied back to his singularly focused desire to make Greenland part of the United States. Specifically, the president targeted 8 countries with new tariffs: Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Finland. The penalties? A new 10% tariff on imports starting February 1st and an increase to 25% on June 1st if the president doesn't get, quote, a complete and total purchase of Greenland, unquote. Trump's comments over the past 3 days rattled markets already on edge, with investors worried about the potential for a broader trade fight and its impact on corporate profits. And the sell-off wasn't limited to just the Dow. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also fell after their opening bells, signaling widespread anxiety across Wall Street. Now, President Trump will be in Davos, Switzerland later this week, attending the World Economic Forum, a gathering of top politicians, business leaders, and economic experts. He is scheduled to deliver a major address on Wednesday. In the newsroom, Donovan Myrie, News 6.
Okay, Ryan's in for Jamie. Tonight, Indiana football. I mean, one of the greatest stories I've ever seen in sports.
Yeah, I mean, it was a back-and-forth championship game. They took down the Hurricanes on their home turf. Coming up, we'll hear from the Hoosiers and Canes after going toe-to-toe at Hard Rock Stadium. Before we go to break, hats off to Josh Williamson, Seminole High grad and world-class bobsledder. Williamson heading to Italy for the Winter Olympics. It'll mark the second time he has been named to the U.S. Olympic bobsled team. We'll be right back. Welcome back to News 6. Even diehard Miami fans cannot argue that it's one of the great stories in college football history. Indiana University, forever the doormat in the Big Ten, rising up to run the table this season and win the national championship last night at Hard Rock Stadium, despite the Canes' best efforts.
Beck steps up, delivers downfield, intercepted!
Yeah, Jamari Sharp's interception of this Carson Beck pass sealed the 27-21 win for the Hoosiers, but the signature moment from this one happened earlier in the fourth quarter when Indiana's Fernando Mendoza scored on the fourth down quarterback draw, putting the Hoosiers back in front by double digits.
They called that play. We knew, hey, we're going to better ourselves one more time in the biggest stage of the game. I trust my linemen, and everybody in that entire offense and entire team had a gritty performance today, and we're all putting our bodies on the line. So it's the least I could do for my brothers.
We're 16-0. 16. National champions, which I know a lot of people thought was never possible. It probably is one of the greatest sports stories of all time.
All right, well, how about those Hurricanes? What about the 10 seed in the playoff who nearly pulled off the biggest upset of its postseason run on its home turf? Miami made plays all night long. Mark Fletcher Jr. ran for 112 yards and a pair of TDs. True freshman Malachi Toney caught 10 passes for 122 yards and another score. It was not enough in the end, but that does not diminish the sensational run to the title game.
I don't see anything negative, but I do see pain in moments like this, and we should. If we're a competitor that's worth anything, you feel it and you use it and you give those feelings a direction. I know the guys coming back will, and I know that the guys moving on will also use that as fuel.
We will have our Super Bowl 60 matchup by the end of this coming weekend. In the NFC, the Rams and Seahawks will battle in the nightcap of Conference Championship Sunday, while earlier in the day, fans can catch the Patriots at the Broncos in the AFC title game right here on News 6. Kickoff set for right around 3 o'clock. The New York Giants introduced their new coach today, longtime Ravens boss John Harbaugh.
And it had to be the right opportunity. This was kind of the obvious one from the beginning. This was the one, like I said, I wanted, and I wanted it because of that very thing you just talked about. We have an opportunity to go win.
All right, and we got some big-time college hoops tonight, guys. The Gators are going to be home against LSU, and UCF will be on the road against number 9 Iowa State. So pivotal conference matchups.
UCF team's got something to them.
They do. Very impressive looking.
All right, thank you, Ryan. More news coming up at 9 o'clock on clickorlando.com on your streaming app. We hope you have a great night. We'll see you later.